Hello, everyone. Good evening. Okay, happy Holi again. Right, welcome back. I hope you all had a very good Holi season. Okay, let's come back. Right, let's continue from where we left off. Let's start right now to work hard for the remaining part of the month. We have like already lost 8 days. Not lost, right? We have already been like 8 days. I guess we have only got chance of having 2 classes on this. So from now on, we are going to have like most of like continuous classes. You will get breaks on Saturday, most likely. Sundays is going to be contest discussion. So yeah, buckle up for the next 20 days at least. It's going to be like super fun, super like what I'd say is super challenging learning sessions. Yeah, but yeah, very at the end of these 20 days, you will be learning a lot of things. Roller coaster ride, yes, might look like a roller coaster ride. So let me quickly share the screen. I'll quickly go through, right, because a lot of you would have forgotten what we did. So let's quickly go through what we did on the last class, and then we can start with today's session. Okay. So we started with basics of programming, right? So we learned about what comments are. So basically, these are nothing but some part of code that does not run actually, but we add them to help the other developers, other people who are reading through the code to understand what this particular code is doing, just in order to save time. Okay. So there are multiple ways to write comments. So one simple way is to write double slashes in front of any line that makes it as a comment, or the second way is to add this slash star in front of every line, right? Slash star, and you can end with slash star. You don't need to give this stars in between. It still is a valid comment, or like people prefer giving this stars as in between as well. But yeah, that's not in the syntax. Okay, so if you just start with slash star and end with slash star, that is also a valid multiple line comment. Okay. After that, we learned about print and println. What are these? These are two ways to print something into this console, right, that we have where we see the result, that is the black screen or the output screen. Now, this is not essentially the only way. There are a lot of other ways as well, but this is like the most common way which can print just a second. Okay, so this is likely this is like most of the ways, most of the things that you want to print will get printed using print and println. Okay, so these are the most common ways to print something into the console. Okay, now print and println a little bit like little bit they have their understanding of data type as well. So you can pass a data of any particular data type or variable that it understands it and prints its value. Now what these data type and variables are, so basically we have different forms of data. Now our data can be small numbers, large numbers, small decimal numbers, large decimal numbers, text, or characters, right? So these are the basic forms of data that we have. Now we have created multiple advanced data using this, but the basic at the core, there are only these many types of data. Okay, so these are like we call it the fundamental data types, right? So fundamental or the primitive data type. So for example, int, long, float, double, character, right? So these are the examples of fundamental data type, which is like the very foundation of our data structures or anything that will derive from it, right? Then we have non-primitive data type, which are built using this primitive data type. For example, strings is one example that we have already seen, so which is built out using the character data type. Then we have arrays, we can have objects, and then we can have multiple custom data types as well. We can create that as well using these primitive data types. Okay. Now we understood about the sizes of these data types that we know. So all the different data types that we have vary in the terms of size, right, amount of information that they can store. So if you create a variable out of this, so what is a variable? Variable is nothing but a small box, right? So data type is like what is the type of our data, and variable is the what is the like what is the name that we have given to this data that we are storing. What is the name of the box that we have given to this data? Okay, is the sizes important? Yes, sizes are important. It's like not very difficult to remember. I give you a simple trick. So for example, you can remember the integer data types are byte, short, int, long in the order, and it starts from 1 byte and then goes to 2 bytes, 4 bytes, and 8 bytes. For decimals, you have only two data types, float and double, so it's 4 and 8. Character is simply 2 bytes and boolean is 1 byte. That's it. Okay, so this is like the only data types that are available. Out of these, bytes and short are something which will not be using, so you only be using these many. So only 6 values that you have to remember. Yeah. Now I give you some idea about how the sizes work actually, right? How the sizes work. Himalaya. No issues. Himalaya will do better this time. We'll try to fill in the gaps that were there, or we'll try to practice more, right? Okay. How many of you are repeating the module? Is there anyone? So one is one person. How many of you are there who is repeating the module? And see, for those of you who are repeating the module, right? So I'll always say, in case you are repeating the module, don't think like I'm repeating it or I'm doing something again. No, you are learning something in more depth, right? That's it. I always say that you are learning something in more depth. Last time, and I always say, preferably if it's taking time, that's completely fine. I'll tell my journey. I'd never learned these things myself in 3 months, right? I try to organize. We try to organize it. We try to provide it in those 3 months. But if it's like, for example, everyone has a different pace of learning. If your pace of learning is little bit different and you want to you want one more month to go through the things that we have learned, to practice more question, practice is better. The ultimate goal should be come out as a better person, come out as a better developer, or come out as a more scalable, more knowledgeable person, right? That should be the goal. So if you are spending more time to learn something, that's completely fine, right? So don't take this that you are repeating. We think it as we already know something. We are trying to learn it in more depth this time, and we are trying to solve more questions. And generally, I'll say you right, the things that I've observed, the students which pass through in the only just by like in the first go, right? The students will pass the module in the first go, right? They compared to them, the students who repeat it and then clear out, they have more depth of understanding of the concept, and they have like solved in fact more questions than the previous students who pass it in one go, right? So I can guarantee that after this month you will be far better than like whatever you did in the first time. Okay, yeah, let's take this forward from here. So then we understood, okay, what's the sizes of this? How can we know the largest value? So we can calculate it, right, by using this bytes. So each byte of information is 8 bits. So we can calculate the number of bits. Now, since each bit can store only 2 information, 0 and 1, so it is 2 to the power that, right? So the range would be something like this. We have one lesser for integers, just to accommodate the sign. So the first bit is reserved for the sign. 0 denotes that it is a positive number, and 1 denotes that it is a negative number. Apart from that, the remaining, for example, in case of integer, 31 bits can be used to store the values, right? If you don't want to do this calculation yourself, you also have a value that is known as integer.max value, integer.min value. This gives you the maximum value that you can store in integer and the minimum value you can store in integer. You can treat it like positive infinity or negative infinity for integer. Same thing, there is positive infinity, negative infinity for long as well, right, which is the largest value long can store and the smallest value long can store. Okay. Then we have a concept of default type. What is default data type? So every data, since there are so many types, for example, there are byte, short, int, long, so many types to store integer. Now, what is the default type of data going to be if I just write an integer number? So the default data type of an integer value is going to be number. The default data type of a decimal number is going to be double. Okay, so default data type of integer, number is integer. Default data type of decimal number is double. Okay, now like whenever we write some value, by default it is integer. So if we are storing it in integer, it's always fine. But if we are writing some value which is which we are storing in long and it is large enough, so this value might not fit in as an integer value. So we have to specify L at the end of it to tell that this is a long value, right? So that the Java treats it as a long value and does not give us error that this is an integer value and this cannot be so large, because until it stores it into long, it is while running the code, it is an integer value, right? Same goes for float. So by default, since the decimal numbers are double, so you always have to specify f at the end of float number so that it is treated as float. Otherwise, Java would treat it as double, and double cannot be stored into float, right? Because double is a larger box and float is a smaller box. So large value cannot be stored into a smaller value. Okay, then we learned about characters. So characters are basically anything that you can type out from keyboard, the things that you cannot type out from keyboard into this single code, right? That can be enclosed within single code. The things that you cannot enclose within single code, there is a way known as escape sequence, using which you can enclose characters into this single code, right? So you just have to do a forward slash and then there are escape sequences. So for example, single quote, you can add a single quote. For tab, you can add a slash t. For new line, it is slash n. For double quote slash double quote, and for forward slash it's single, like it's a double forward slash. Okay. Now you can use this escape sequences in case of strings as well. You can put this escape sequence inside string double quote. So like all the characters which you cannot put normally. For example, you cannot put double quote inside a string. That you can put inside the string. You cannot put a forward slash or a enter or a tab. So all those characters you can put inside the string. Okay. Then we have finally Boolean, which is like a special data type which just stores two values, true and false. So false is 0, right? Which is binary 0, and true is nothing but binary 1. Okay. Okay. Then we understood about conversion. So this is very important. We can convert data type from one type to another. Right? Since there are so many data types, we can convert one of them to another. Now, some conversion happens implicitly, which the compiler automatically does. When does it do? If the conversion is possible. For example, simply if it makes sense. If you are trying to convert a number to integer or a decimal number to float to double. So all those things make sense, right? Where the conversion is within those bounds. You're converting a number to number type, decimal to decimal type. So those things make sense. And it is not resulting in loss of data. For example, if you're converting a smaller type to higher, integer to long, or integer to float, or integer to double, so it will not result in any loss of data. So you are allowed to do that. But if you try to do the reverse, for example, double to float, or double to long, or double to integer, that will result in loss of data, and that compiler will not allow. Right? It will give you error that possibly lossy conversion of data. Okay. So how can we do those conversions? So those conversions can be done explicitly or using a forceful way known as typecasting. Okay. So this is something which we like using typecasting, which can convert any data type to another if it makes sense. So for example, we can convert any number type to decimal, any decimal type to number. We can typecast them. We cannot typecast a string to integer, or string to long, or string to double. These cannot be done because it does not make any sense, right? Okay. So then we saw about this, right? How we can convert a integer to long. This is implicit conversion, no changes, right? Then we had a long, we need to convert it into integer. This will not happen. This will throw you error. Now, if you want to do this, you have to do it forcefully by writing a int in front of it. Right? So this can be done but by using forceful conversion. Now, forceful conversion has a drawback. Right? We cannot all, why Java does not do it, right? If it is possible, Java should automatically do it. The problem is it might result in loss of data. Might, or it in like if the number cannot be accommodated. For example, if this long number is large enough, it cannot be stored in an integer value. So it will result in loss of data while this conversion. So that's why Java throws error that this cannot be converted. Okay. Same goes for double, like an integer. Same goes for double to long conversion or any other conversion. You just have to see this. If it is resulting in loss of data, then Java won't allow it, right? If it is not resulting in any loss of data, then Java will allow it, right? Okay. Now I'll give you one question. How many of you figured out what's the, like, how can you print this decimal number up to 6 decimal places? Did you guys get the answer? Anyone? Formatting. So let's say this is our number, double number, right? So if I just use system dot out dot println d. Okay, I run this. So we see this, right? Now this is not trimmed to 6 decimal places. How can we do that? Now one simple way is, instead of using this, you can use printf, and you can do this percentage 0.6d 0.6f. Okay, and comma d. So here in printf you use comma. There is no string concatenation or something. Okay, so these are two parameters that we are passing. So this is like here you choose comma, and in case of like system.out.println, you can use plus for this is different. This is string concatenation, right? This is not string. The string concatenation does not work over here, so you have to use comma. Okay. This is one way. Preferably you can do it in this way, or there is one more alternative as well, which I like better. Okay, so that is using the same system.out.println. Okay, there is system.out.format also, that also works, but I prefer this one. This is better, string.format, and you can pass it 0.6f comma d. Okay. Now, what's the how this is better than anything else? So this is sorry, string not format. Acha, it's percentage. So this is working. How this is better than anything else, because you don't need to like write any printf or print format. And here, if you have like any additional text to display or any additional value to display, that you can display it directly. Here, string concatenation, everything works. Okay. Does it give round figure? Actually, this yes, this might result in a round figure, but actually it will just try to trim it till here. Yeah, but yeah, it rounds off. Right, rounds off. Okay. So see, what's the difference? I'll say you see. In simple words, in printf, whenever you print, right? So both of them are doing the same. Printing, this is also printing up to 6 decimal places. And this is also printing up to 6 decimal places, right? So here what is happening, how it is printing, we are giving two parameters that this is the value I want to print. And it is printing. Okay, see. This is the first number it is printing, and then there is no space or no next line or something. And it prints it and just stays in the same line, right? What does println do? Println, I am telling that print it up to 6 decimal places, but here when I'm using string dot format, I'm actually converting that decimal number to string. Okay, so now here it got actually converted into string, but trimmed to up to 6 decimal places. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? I cannot add any additional information over here, but I can, if I want to have any additional information like is the number, I want to display some string, some text or something, that can be done over here. Okay, so that's the basic difference between printf or println. Understood? Can we always use printf in case of println? Yes, that you can use, but if you use printf, so like you have to use /n to change the line. It does not have a like line changer automatically. So you have to always use that /n escape sequence inside string to print it. So for example, let's say you want to print hello world using printf. So that you can do system.out.print f, and you want to print hello world. So that you can do, but the controls will stay in the same line. It will print it, no issues. So for those of you who already know C, so this behaves exactly the same way in which in how the C printf behaves. Okay. So if you already know C, the printf that you have used there, it is exactly same. Okay. Does not change the line anything. If you want to change the line, you have to use /n within it to change the line or something. Everything that you see over here is converted to like string, but there is a difference, right? When this conversion actually happens, so if I write a D over here, when this conversion actually happens, this happens during the runtime of the program. Okay. Now, when this conversion happens during the compile time of the program. Okay. So there is a difference between that, right? So since this is happening during runtime, you cannot do string concatenation or something over here. This is happening during compile time itself. So you can do concatenation, all those things still works. You can use that as well, format as well. See, there is nothing like this one you have to use. This is better, that is better. Everyone is like everything is doing the same work. Whichever you feel comfortable, that you can use, right? Now, the main point over here is what is this 0.6f that I'm using. So this is like telling what's the number of decimal places that I have to print. Okay. So if you specify like it as 0.4f, so it will print up to 4 decimal point. That's it. Okay. So it is just the specification of how many decimal points I have to print. Great. Why Java developers came up with so many formats? Just to accommodate all the people coming from different languages. So they try to give, so people coming from C, they can just use printf. It's exactly same as C, right? Java had a print and println from the start. String format they created, right? Java.format is coming from string format, where it basically you have some additional capability of converting the number to decimal in the compile time itself. So if you want to do string concatenation or something, you can do it, right? Whereas in case of printf, that is not possible, right? You cannot do string concatenation or something. You have to like write it in a single string or something. Okay. Each topic on the right side, yes. Understood. So this one I have written, right? Decimal up to 6 decimal number up to 6 decimal places. I have written it. Okay, understood. So there are multiple ways to get the same solution, right? Just that whatever you prefer, you feel like using, you can use. If you want printf, you already know printf, you can use that. That's good. If you want to have like use string format, you can use string format. This also gives you that additional capability of doing string concatenation within this string, right? Which you cannot do over here. S in string is caps. Yes, S in string is caps. So Java is a case sensitive language. I'll come to that. I have not told. Yeah. So this is the next thing, right? Variables. Okay. I did not cover this part. Right? So Java is a case sensitive language. What is a case sensitive language? A language that treats capital and small alphabets differently. Okay. So in Java, capital and small alphabets are different. Okay. They are completely different. For example, capital S and small s are two different alphabets for Java. Okay, so these two are completely two different alphabets like A and B for Java. Okay, so so capital S and small s are completely different. So whenever I am writing something in capital, right, so that is not by mistake or I am writing it to look good. It is there in the language. So if I write this as small s system.out.printf or println, that is not going to work. It is simply going to tell me it does not recognize this. Okay, they did not find this symbol. Cannot find this symbol, right? See, it is string, this cannot be found. Okay. So yeah, it did not find D, but okay, even if it found D, it will still be. How percent are like arguments? Yes, they are like arguments to the format as method. Yes, that's the correct way to put it. Okay. So see, so this package does not exist. So wherever I am writing this capital, that is like the what it says, that has to be written in that. Now, why S in the string is capital and all the other data types have their starting letter as small? So the difference comes from here, right? So I mentioned about primitive and reference data types. So all these were primitive data types. All the primitive data types start by a small letter. Okay, and the reference data types start by a capital letter. Right. So for example, strings, arrays, right? Object, or for example, array list, all these things that we have created, which are reference types. So they are simply, they simply start with capital casing. So they simply helps us understand these are reference types and these are primitive data types. Okay. So let's complete this. Okay. Understood? Clear? Doubts? Character, yes, I'll explain that. That is that I have written character in ASCII concept, that is written. Okay. So next we have operators. So operators are basically fundamental ways of doing something in the code, right? So if we want to do something, some calculation, some operation to perform some specific task, we can do that using operators. Okay. Now there are like 5 basic arithmetic operators that we have. We have a lot of operators, like we have arithmetic operator, relational operators, logical operators, right? And so like increment, decrement, unary, binary, ternary operators, so many different kinds of operators. So these are one of them, right? We'll learn about all of them gradually. So this is the very first set of operators that we have. So that is arithmetic operator. What does these operators do? These operators helps us in performing arithmetic calculation. So simplest is like just a calculator, creating a calculator. Okay. So the first 4 operators are very simple: plus, minus, into, divide. So it basically helps us to perform plus in addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The last one is modulo. We call this percentage as modulo operator. What does this operator do? This finds out the remainder after the division. So if you divide 2 numbers and find out the remainder after the division, this is going to give you the remainder after that. Okay. So whenever you are performing division, now whenever you are performing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and let's say the numbers are integers, so the result is also going to be in integers. So for example, if you divide 5 divided by 2 and both of them are integers, so your result is going to come out as 2, not 2.5. Right? If you want the result as 2.5, you have to perform the division on decimal numbers. How can you do that? So if your values are integer, you can convert them into double by using typecasting again, or you can take them as double variables or float variables. So that will automatically ensure that this is coming out as decimal. Right? But your if the numbers are integer, you have to explicitly typecast them as double or float to get the result is decimal numbers. Okay. Next thing is string concatenation, right? So string concatenation is basically the mathematical operator plus also works on string, and it helps us join 2 strings. Okay. So like there is no other mathematical operator that works on string like subtraction, multiplication. That doesn't make sense. string addition works, what does this do? This joins simply two strings. So if I join S1 plus S2, it will result in hello world without any space. We can even add spaces or additional strings in between. That is also fine, right? Then we saw some scenarios. For example, we have two integers and string. And what if we are trying to join it in this way? So it will always perform the addition from left to right. Now, since it is performing from left to right, these are two numbers. So it will get added as numbers. Okay. So it will result in 30 as a string, right? But if you try to perform, okay, now if I print this, and I print S over here, run this. Oh. Sorry, let's check this one. So see, yeah. So what happened is here we have two numbers. Now we are trying to perform addition. Now, since even though we are storing it in string, since it will try to compute it from left to right, these two are numbers. And we are doing addition of two integer values. So what is the result going to be? Result is going to be two integer value, the sum of integer value. So that is 30. Then we are adding string, so it gets converted into string. What if we don't add this string? So this will give us error that this integer cannot be converted to string. See, incompatible type, string cannot be converted to integer, cannot be converted to string. Why? These two are integers. Adding them will also result in integer. Final result is integer, right? So basically what I'm trying to say over here is that string concatenation is not only just for strings. You can concatenate any value with string. So you can concatenate integer, float, character, boolean, any value that you have, you can actually concatenate them with strings. Okay, so for example, if I do this addition of string, what this will do is this will basically convert this entire result into string. So now if I run this, it will find out 30 and then it will add a string. So it will get converted to 30 as a string, which is possible to be stored into a string variable, and we can print it as well. Okay, now if I just change the order, right? If I just do A plus B, now what this will result in? So firstly, A will add from left to right, A will add to a single quote, so sorry, to a string. Now this will convert it to a string which is 10. Now when we add 10 as a string to an integer, it will add 1020. It will do string concatenation, not the integer addition, right? So now we are saying 1020. So just the order in which you are writing the string concatenation also will affect the value of the result that you are seeing. The values are of different types. For strings, it is straightforward. You add two strings, they just get joined, right? But if you have numbers or floating numbers or decimals, for there the addition also makes something else, which is the normal number addition, right? So there you have to be careful whether like what do you want to do there, whether you want to do addition of values or whether you want to do string concatenation. Accordingly, you have to write that logic. Okay, understood? If comma is not there, then string will add. Yes, comma is so comma doesn't comma is no need, right? Comma is no need. If concatenation is implicit, yes, concatenation is an implicit conversion. You don't, if we are not doing any forceful conversion. See, integer to string conversion, we are not doing anything forcefully, it is happening automatically. So concatenation is an example of implicit conversions. If you ever get this, so this is a plain example of implicit conversion. Okay. Okay. The next part was taking inputs. So till now we were giving values to our variables ourselves, but we'll not be doing this, right? We won't be giving the values to the variables ourselves. We would want the values to get some like we want the variables to get values from, okay, conditions and loops are in the same place. We'll not be starting with loops, right? Today we'll be just sticking to conditionals because I guess that will be taking a lot of time. If we get time, obviously we'll try to start, but I don't think so we'll be able to. Okay. So then we have scanner. Scanner helps us in taking inputs, right? So we have different data types. Now we need to take inputs of all these different data types, right? So scanner has given like it's the easiest way to take input in Java. There are other ways where like stream readers, input stream reader, buffer reader, so many ways, right? So this is one of the simplest. What you need to do, you need to add one line at the top that you want this scanner thing to use in your code. So for that, we write import java.util.scanner, or you can write import java.util.star. Take that, both of them works. Okay. Next is you write this line, which is like we are creating a variable of the scanner type, which is SC, and we are telling that we want the input from system.in. The system.in means the same console where we are printing it. right? So earlier we were outputting into the screen, so we are writing system.out. Now we are taking input, so we are writing system.in. Then we have a list of functions that we can use to take input. So for example, next int, next long, next double, next float, next boolean, right? Next line. So we have so many functions to take input of different data types, right? So we have next int, which takes integer inputs. We have next double, which takes double input. We have now for strings, we have two types, next and next line. What's the difference? Next takes input, anything before the first space, and next line takes input of the entire string, including spaces as well. Okay. Okay, that's it. Now for character, we don't have a function, right? So for character, we use the string function. We take a string as input, but can we store a string into character? No, we cannot store a string into character. Even though it is containing a single character, we cannot store it. Okay, we can neither typecast it, we cannot do anything to like store it as a character, right? So what do we do is we pick one character from the string. Now that is a valid character and that can be stored into the character variable. So we just pick a valid character from the string and we store it into the character. That's it. Okay. So you can specify the index. Now indexing starts from 0. So in the programming from here to throughout, whatever indexing you'll see, it will always start from 0. So there is no one-based indexing. All the index values are starting from 0. Okay. Okay. So this is it. What we did in the last class. Any doubts so far? Anyone clear everything? Okay, so there are two things that's remaining and then we can start. Okay, we'll possibly start with the loops. We'll try to do that. But seeing like there are a lot of things in conditionals to learn, right? And string addition. What was 0 at the caret 0? So caret 0 is like the first character that you input. So for example, if I run this, so let's say if I just run this and I give it a input like hello. Okay. So no matter how long input I give or whatever input I give, it will just pick the first character, which is the 0 index character. So caret 0, 0 tells which number character I want to pick. So if I give it as 1 or 2, it will pick the, so 2 is the index. So 0, 1, 2, that is the third value that we want to pick, right? So yeah, so that's the L, which is the third value. Okay, yes. This time we'll go more on strings. So this time I guess we'll have a few additional classes because the month is 31 days. Yes, 31 days. Yes, we'll have two at least additional classes than the last month where we had two less. Yes, but we try to do a revision. Tika will do focus on that more. If I do, if I give string C, so string, okay, now that's a, so when you are trying to store a character as a string, now that's a problem, right? If you try to do the same thing, but you put this into a string variable. Now this is different. Why? See, so what is this giving? This is giving one character. Now, can we put a character into a string? No, possibly without conversion, we cannot put it, right? If we, like we can put it with conversion, but without conversion, we cannot put it. See, traditionally character cannot be converted to string, right? No memory loss, there is nothing, but this is like incompatible types, right? This is a character. This is a character. We are reading one character and we are not giving input, right? But if we just add a string to it, now it's fine, right? Now it is going to be fine. So this is like string getting stored into string. So if I do hello, so what it will do is it will pick only h. So now it is, we are able to add h. Okay. So there are ways to do everything. Here we are giving input as a string, but we are reading only one character out of it. And we are doing string concatenation to convert that character into string. And then we are storing that string. So a lot of things happening, but finally we are storing string into string. So there is no error. Okay. Same way you can take any type input and you can do a string concatenation to convert into string. See, string we call as the God data type, right? Because any type of value, right? Be it any type, a number, an integer, a float, a decimal, a boolean, a character, that can be stored into string, right? Everything can be converted into string, and that is by implicit conversion. No forceful conversion, no data loss, nothing. Just simple string addition that will result in this. Can we use that? No, that will still be a valid character, right? So that is again a valid character. So character addition will not convert it into string, right? Only string addition will convert it into string. Okay, got it? those two things go. Okay, let me quickly cover up. There are two parts remaining. Yeah. Okay. So what's the first part is what are the rules for naming variables? Till now we are giving names to the variables, but what are the rules that we should be following? So for example, when our parents gave us names, so they followed some rules, right? So like our name has to have only alphabets. There is no numbers or special characters in our name. Anyone having a name with special character or numbers? No, yes, our name should not be given in numbers. It does not have any numbers or special characters at anywhere, right? It is just combination of alphabets. So there were certain rules that they followed, and probably it should start with this particular alphabet. It should be in it should be with the name of the god, right? In this particular god, we have faith, and this is the name we would want to give to our child. So our parent had certain set of rules that they followed. I want to name my child in the name of a particular actor or something that they like at that for their point of time. So they gave their name using those assumptions, right? Similar to this, we have rules that we'll follow while naming our variables, right? So the first rule is it can contain numbers. Sorry, it can contain alphabets, digits, and there is only one special character that you should be using, characters underscore. But you know what? There is one more special character that is actually allowed to be used. You know what is that special character? Apart from underscore, there is one more special character that Java allows to be used in variable names. You can even keep that special character as a variable name. That is $sign. So you can keep a $sign as a variable name. That is a valid variable name. Now, okay, so why does anyone not use $sign as a variable name? Why we prefer working as a variable name, right? So dollar is a valid variable name, but we should not use it. Only special characters that are allowed is this. And let me write it. Avoid using dollar. Okay. So the reason being is it is not allowed in other programming languages. So it creates a confusion, and it also looks like S. So it is confusing to read through the name of this variable. But since it was allowed initially, so it is still allowed, but no one uses it. Okay, so avoid using $sign, and even it is mentioned in the official documentation of Java that you should avoid using $sign as the variable names. Okay. Okay, so we have alphabet, digit, special character. It should start. So from here on, whatever discussion I'll have, I'll avoid dollar. Okay, so avoid using dollar. Okay. Okay, it should start with an alphabet. Now, underscore is also treated as an alphabet, so you can start with underscore as well, or underscore. Okay. So underscore is treated as an alphabet while naming variables. So you can start the variable name with underscore as well, but you cannot start it with a digit. Okay. You cannot start a variable name with digit. It can be of any length. There is no restriction on the length of the variable names. So it can be of any length. Okay. Variable names are case sensitive. So variables, it is case, it is case sensitive. So what is case sensitive? Same thing. So capital and small variables are different. So for example, if you created a capital variable and a small variable, right? So, and both of them are named as A. So these two are different variables, and you're not going to get any issues or anything. Wherever you'll have, wherever you'll access small A, you'll get the value that is stored in small A. And wherever you access capital A, you will get the value that is stored in capital A. Okay. So these are two different variables, and they are not related. They are completely different variables, right? So it is giving the say 5 and 10 as output, which are the value that is stored into this, right? So this is case sensitive. Before that, let me write one more rule. Okay, that will make this clearer. So there cannot be two variables with the same name in the same scope. Now, what is this scope that I'm talking about? So scope is a pair of curly brackets. Okay. Scope is a pair of curly bracket. Now, you cannot have two variables with the same name within a pair of curly brackets. So for example, right now the code that we are writing is within these curly brackets. So the curly bracket that starts with here and it ends at our end of like code, right? Wherever our code is ending, it ends there. So whatever we are writing in between these two curly brackets. Okay. So can we write it somewhere else? Can we create our own brackets? Yes, we can do that. And for that, the rule is you cannot have two variables with the same name within a same scope. We call these two curly bracket as a scope. I cannot have two variables with same name. So what is going to happen if I put two variables with same name? We are going to get error. Okay, what's the error? Variable A is already defined in this method main. So you cannot create one more variable over here. So it is also telling you that where it is defined, where you have created this. You have created this inside this main thing, right? So you cannot create one more variable with the name A with over here. You cannot even create it of a different type. So even if you change the type to string or something, so that also you cannot do, right? So it doesn't matter like what the type is. You cannot simply create two variables having the same name, no matter whatever type you are trying to create it. Okay. Loop is different. So loop has a different scope. I'll come to loops and conditionals. So there I'll explain about scoping in there. So how does scope work there? So there we create a different scope. So for example, I'll give you example of scope. Here also I can give you. So for example, let's say can I create a curly bracket like, so this we call a scope. So can I create a scope over here? Yes, we can. So you can create a scope anywhere you want. So for example, I create a variable like a is equals to 5. Okay. And I do system.out.println and I print it. Okay. Now let's take it as 15. Okay. So I created one variable which is 15. And outside it, I created one more variable which is A. Okay. Now these two are not in the same scope. This is a different scope where I have created it, and it is even cleared out after this. So any variable that you create within a scope that ends wherever the scope ends. So here the scope ended, it started here and it ended over here itself. So you cannot use this A outside. Okay. So let's say, let me comment this and let's just try to access this A. So if I try to run this, this is fine, but this line will throw error. See where the error is coming, line number 185. It is telling cannot find symbol. This is not present over here. So it is telling I cannot find this symbol. This is not present because this variable is only accessible within this scope and we cannot access it outside it. Okay. The variable that we are creating over here. So this is a different variable. Okay. So when I run this, so first time it will print this, which is fine. It is A, which is coming from this value. Now this variable does not exist anymore. So I can create one more variable with the name A. Okay. But if we declare, you can do that as well. So for example, you can create one A outside before this, let's say 10. Okay. And okay, and let's try to run this. Now see what is going to happen. See, now it is telling that this A is already defined. Why? Why it is telling this A is already defined? Because the first variable that we created, it has value 10. So we defined it, we created a variable A. Now, when this scope is running, it is having access to everything that is outside it. So within any scope, whatever you have created outside it, you can use it. Okay. So within a curly bracket, whatever we created outside it, we can use it inside. But here we already have a, so we cannot create one A. But if I just remove this integer and I just try to give it a new value, I'll say, okay, that same A variable is there. I'm just trying to give it a new value. I'm not creating an A variable. Okay. So now it will work fine. So what we are doing, we're creating one variable A, then updating its value to 15, printing 15. But when we'll come outside, the value is updated. Okay. So you can think of it like this. See, I'll give you a picture of it so that will be better. So see this as a box. Okay, so this is a box. I created a box A. Now this box was outside, so I stored a value 10. Now I came on running here. Now this is a complete different block, but I'm updating the same variable. I'm updating the same variable and I changed it from 10 to 15. I printed it, so I got 15 as a result. When I came outside, the value was still 15. So I printed it, I got the value 15. Okay. Now, okay, this is fine, but what was happening previously? If this is what is happening over here, and what was happening when I had this as integer, and I created another int. So look. So what is happening over here? See, Firstly, I came from here, so there was no A when I was trying to create this. So it allowed me to create a A since there was no A present present currently. So I created a A. I created a I stored a value 15. Then I printed the value 15. So I got 15. Now, as soon as this scope ends, what happens is whenever the scope ends, the first thing that happens is all the variables that you have created within this gets erased from memory. Now there is no more variable. After this line, there is no more variable with the name A. Now, when I come over here, I am trying to create a variable with the name A. Now, since there is no such variable with the name A that we already have, so we can create it. Okay, so we can create a which is having the value 5 and again then we are printing, so we are printing 5. If you want to update it, we can update it. But if you try to create one more A over here, so then it will not allow because this is telling, okay, there is already a A, so you cannot create one more A. So this second statement will fail. So you can, so basically you cannot have two variables with the same name in the same scope, but if they are in different scope, you can do that. Okay. And if this scope, so for example, this scope is part of the outer scope, right? But if let's say they are two different things altogether, two different scope, okay, they are nowhere related. So it doesn't matter, right? Whatever variables you are creating, you can create in them. You don't have to worry about, right? Understood? So don't worry, you'll understand much more in detail about scoping when we learn about functions. This is just to give you an idea what is scoping. Okay, going forward, we'll see scoping in conditionals, in loops, in functions, in all the places. So there it will become clearer gradually as we keep on seeing this again and again. Okay. Arrays, at least 3-4 classes more, right? Loops and conditionals, I require few classes. Okay. So then it is case sensitive, right? Or two variables having lower and uppercase are different. So lower case and upper case variables are different. Okay. Next is okay, they are case sensitive, lower uppercase are different. What's next? It can be of any length that I have written. What did I miss? Variables cannot have same names. I missed something. Okay, this is 5. There is only one that I'm missing. I'm not able to recall. Yes, I'll discuss assignment questions. Don't worry. No, combine anything that's there. What did I miss? I missed one, but I'm not able to recall it. I should not start with number that I've written. It should start with alphabets or underscore that I've written. So should not be starting with number. That I've already covered. Now, keywords. Yes. Thanks for pointing that out. It should not be a keyword. Okay, yeah, I was thinking that was a very important one. Okay, so it should not be a keyword, and this is very important that any variable name that you are creating should not be a keyword, right? So what is keyword? So there are altogether right now there are valid 56 keywords that we have. Right, this list keeps on expanding, but like very rarely. So we have 56 keywords that you cannot put as variable name. So what are these keywords, right? So for example, you have integer. So this is a keyword. Float is a keyword. So you cannot have a variable name with the name double. You cannot have a variable name with the name true. That you cannot do. So if I try to run this, it will see that this is not possible, right? Because double has a different meaning for Java, right? So wherever we write double, it means something else. So we cannot keep double as a variable name, right? Or float as a variable name. So there are like 56 such keywords. Do we need to remember them? No, we don't need to mark them up, right? You will automatically be able to remember them. So you have already used a lot of them. So int, float, byte, long, so we have already used around 10 to 15 keywords. So let me show you this. Like we have used integer, long, float, double, char. So this is 5, right? Then we have string, that is 6. We have byte, short, 7, 8, right? Then we have system 9, true, false, 10, 11, boolean 12. So I've used around 12 to 15 keywords, right? Till now, and gradually as we keep on learning, like if, else, for, while, do. So all these are different keywords. So that all those things you cannot use as keyword as variable names. Okay, that's it. So these are the rules that we have for naming variables. if you follow these rules, you can give the whatever names you want to give your variable until it follows these rules. Okay. If it violates any one of these rules, you'll see errors most likely, right? That this kind of variable creation is not allowed or something. Okay. Okay. We'll learn about the ASCII concept. I'll just start with conditionals and then we'll come back to ASCII. Okay. I guess that is not very much needed now, but we'll cover it. So let me write one more thing that I want to cover with ASCII. So that is increment and decrement operator. Okay. Next, let's start with conditionals first. Okay, then I'll revisit that part. Take 1 hour of focus time. I want main and class a keyword. Yes, main is also a keyword. Class is also a keyword. Yes, void is also a keyword. Public is also a keyword. So all of them are keyword. Public, private, void, mean. No, mean is not a keyword. No, mean is not a keyword. You can have mean as this. Mean is not a keyword. Void is a keyword. Static is a keyword. Public is a keyword. Okay. Class is a keyword. Import is a keyword. Okay. So the easiest way to identify is this text editors also highlights this. Now, how many of you read about dangling else? किसी ने search करा? What is class? I don't really understand that for now. Like it's, you can think it is like a way to create our own data type. Else without blocks. Yes. Chalo, then the discussion will be interesting even more. Okay. Let's see. So what is conditionals? So conditionals are basically if but. Okay. If else, what will happen? So till now, like I say that there is a thumb rule to run any code. Okay. So computer is very dumb, right? So it follows a very simple thumb rule to run any code. Okay. And this is what we use whenever we want to debug or whenever we want to find out any issues. So there are two very simple rule. So the rule number 1 is always run the code line by line. Okay. And the rule number 2 is never forget this rule number 1. Okay. So this is like the rule to run any code, right? If you are given any code, right? If you are given in any programming language, this is the basic fundamental that you have to follow to run that code, right? What this code is doing, how we are getting this result. If you run it line by line, simply you will be able to understand how this is working, how you are getting the result. That's very simple. Okay. Now, up till now, whatever code we show, whatever we are writing, right? So everything we used to run in a line by line fashion. We don't used to skip anything, and whatever we have written, that things used to learn, right? But it is not always the scenario. So for example, let's say you are trying to make a payment. Okay. Now whenever you make a payment, you see a pop-up in PhonePe, let's say, or Paytm, that you see two options. Either you have the option to pay or you can cancel it as well. You have the option to pay or cancel. Now, if you click on the pay button, something happens, right? You get redirected to the payment page where you can enter your UPI pin and make the payment. Or if you click cancel, so it basically cancels that out, right? You don't make that payment, right? In double float, they are keyword. Okay, that is those are keywords. Okay. Now whenever you click on pay, something happens. Whenever you click on cancel, something else happens. Both are two different codes that are running. Now how they are running depending on the condition. So whether you clicked on pay or whether you clicked on cancel. Same goes for a form submit. Let's say you're submitting a form, then you see two options, either submit or cancel. When you click on submit, something happens. When you click on cancel, something else happens, right? Now, depending on what was the user action that you made, some part of code is running, something is not running. Okay. So all those things works on conditionals. Take all the logic. So that is conditional. So conditional basically says that we have some condition based on which we want to run a code. So if this condition satisfies, this condition is true, the result of this condition is true, that means we want to run this code. If it is not true, then we want to not run this code. We don't want to run anything at all. Okay. If this is not true, we can even get something else to run. So this is the first type of condition where we just have a if. So what we can do over here, so for example, let's say we write a is equals to 5, and we can check if a is less than 10, then we want to print hello world. System.out.println hello world. Okay, run this. Okay, so we are seeing hello world. But if I change it to 50, now this condition does not hold anymore. So when we print this, it is not going to print anything. Okay. Not going to print anything. Okay. So okay. So if the condition is true, this statement that are enclosed within this curly brackets, that is going to run. If it is not true, then it is not going to run. Simple, right? If you want, you can add as else as well. So this is like the first way to write conditions, where you write a single if, and then we write else part to this conditions as well, where we add else conditions, that if this is not true, then run this else wala part, right? Simple, like either this or this. So similar to that, if this is not true, this is false, run this else. So if the condition is false, then we can run this else in that scenario. So let's say hello world, hello me. Is the audio clear? There is no disturbance, right? Can anyone confirm that? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. There's someone playing loud music. I don't know. Right. So it's disturbing to me. Okay. So we have if, right? So if is like basically if it satisfies, we run this code. If it doesn't, then we go to the else part, we run. Okay. Next, like if this is if else normal, then we can also even chain this. So there is another way to write this, where we chain this if else. So what is chaining? So we create a ladder. We call it as a if else ladder, where we can write multiple condition. If this is true, then do this. If the second condition is true, then do this. If the third condition is true, then do this. Please don't annotate. Yeah. Otherwise, if you want to provide a else, that if none of them are true, then run the else part in any ways. Or if you don't want, you don't need to write that else part. Okay, this is optional, right? Else part is optional. So if you want, you can write it. If you don't want, you don't need to write it. This we call as if else ladder. Okay. So now here, this is like the normal if, where if this satisfies, it runs. Else this does not satisfy, the else runs. If the if is true, the else doesn't run. We just run the if part. Okay. And then the final part is if else if conditional statement, where we write where we write multiple conditions. So we can write is let's say less than 5, then do. Okay, less than, or let's say is greater than 20, then do this. Or else if is let's say less than 15, then do this. Let's add hello all. Or at the end, or if you want to just have else. So let's say if you don't have any else. So you have the value as 5. So what this is satisfying? This is satisfying the first condition, is less than 10. So you're printing hello world. Now if I change it to 50, what is going to happen? The first condition does not satisfy, the second condition satisfies, so it is going to print hello me. Okay. Now if I just change it to something like, let's say 12, so the first one doesn't satisfy, the second one as well doesn't satisfy, the third condition satisfies, so it is going to print hello all. Okay. Now here there is only one thing to know, that if you write a if else ladder in such a way that there are multiple conditions which are true. So for example, I wrote it a less than 10, a less than 20, a less than 50, and I gave the value as 3. Okay, so here multiple conditions, all of them are actually true. So only the first condition that is true, that is going to run. So if you have multiple true conditions, the first condition that is true, only that runs, and the remaining ones are skipped. Okay. So if any condition in the if else ladder runs, the remaining conditions in the if else ladders are skipped, it does not run at all. Okay. So this is what you can like keep in mind for if else ladder and if else conditions in general. If you have like a final if all of them are false, you can add a else which runs if all of them are false. Okay. Which is just hello, let's say. Okay. Okay, so now it's hello world. Let's say I give it as 30. So now all the conditions are false. So it will print hello. Okay, clear? Understood? Yes. I guess this one you have done in like pre-course. So this was like easy. Do it even skips else? do it even skip else if the first is true? Yes, it skips all the else if, right? Else if all the it is even skip all the else ifs, anything, right? If one of them becomes true, it skips everything else. If you have another if altogether, now this is independent, right? If you have one more if, this is independent of whatever is happening over here. So for example, if I check is less than 30 or less than 20, this is anyways going to run because this is a different if altogether. But over here, that is like not different. That is like the same ladder. So if one of them is true, the remainings are going to get skipped. Okay. Acha. Now, since we are talking about this, let me also talk about relational operator, right? So what is this condition? How do we build conditions? So in order to build conditions, we need something known as relational operator. Okay. So what is relational operators? So this finds the relation between two values or variables. Okay. So what we'll come to switch case. Let's complete this one first. So there are a fixed set of relational operators that we can use: greater than, less than, greater than equals to, less than equals to, not equals to, this is not equals to, and then finally double equals to. Okay. So these are a set of operators that we can use, and these are relational operators. What this do? This finds the relation between any two operators or operators. Okay. Now there is like one relational operator, double equals to, and this is often asked, what's the difference between double equals to and single equal to? So this is the relational operator. This compares two values, okay, or variables. Okay, what's the values present in it? So it is a comparison operator. Okay, and this is a assignment operator. This assigns a value to a variable. Okay, so this is completely different. This is like a comparison operator. This is a comparison operator, and this is a assignment operator. Okay, so those two are completely different things. This compares two values, and this two values are variables, and this assigns a value to a variable, which is the assignment operator. Okay, understood? Okay, so this is what relational operator is. Okay, now before moving to the next part, let's understand that mysterious thing, dangling else. No, there is no triple equal to, there is no strict comparison in Java, because that, like here there is all the data types are mentioned specifically, right? So you cannot create a data without having a data type of it. So even if it has default types, even if you write a number, it is by default an integer type. So you don't need a strict comparison over here, like in JavaScript or something, where all the data types are by default string until you like specify it, until you like used strict comparison to compare. Okay. So that's why there is no strict comparison, no triple equals to, only double equals to. Okay. Now the interesting problem, this comes in interviews as well, which is known as dangling else. So right now we is error, dangling else is error in else if schedule. So it is not a error actually, it is how like it is designed to work, right? So the if else condition is designed in that way, it is actually, I don't say it as an error. Okay, so see what happens over here. So for example, let's say we write a is equals to 5. Okay, and then we write some conditions. Let's say a is less than 10, and we are not bound to write this curly bracket. So what is going to happen if I don't write this curly bracket? So if I write system.out.println and then hello 1, and then I write one more system.out.println hello 2. So earlier when you are writing curly brackets and both of them are, if they are present inside curly bracket, they are going to only run if the condition is true. If it is false, you are not going to run anything that is present inside this curly bracket. Now, since you don't have curly bracket, what happens is if you run this, this will only take the first part as true. This will only take first part as the inside the if. Now we are seeing both of them because the condition is true. Okay. If I make the condition as false, then also you would be seeing the second statement getting printed because it will only take the first statement within it. So only the first statement is a part of if, the second statement is not a part of it. Okay, so even if the if condition is true or false, the second statement is anyways going to run. Okay, because this is no more a part of if, only one statement. No matter if we have put spacing so that it is aligned to this or something, okay, it doesn't matter however you have put. So this is simple to writing something like this, that you have one if else and you have one statement separately. Okay, understood? First thing, so if you don't have curly brackets, only one statement becomes a part of it. That is like the immediate statement that you have written just under the if. Okay, anything else after it is not a part of it. So or basically I can say anything that is written till the first occurrence of semicolon. Okay, so it takes something, anything before the first occurrence of semicolon or first ending of this bracket. So either you do this wherever this block ends, the if ends there, or wherever the semicolon ends, the if ends there. Okay, so if I put a semicolon over here, does it mean that the if will end right away? Yes, the if will actually end right away, and these two statements are now no more a part of if. See, the if condition is false till the statements are running. This statement is also running, and the next one is also running, because this if condition is ending over here. Okay, so if we are putting a semicolon right after if, the if condition ends then and there, it does not take any other statement as a part of it. Okay, so this semicolon operator is known as a terminator in the program. So let me write it over here. So what is terminator? So this semicolon operator, this ends the scope of any statement. Okay, or any if else logic, we'll see it even used in more places. So if you write semicolon anything after it, the so like scope of that ends there. So for example, if I've written semicolon after if ends there, then in there is these two statements are now no more part of it. If I don't write semicolon, it will look for whether is the first curly bracket. If it is starting with curly brackets, it will look for where is this curly bracket ending, or if it is not having this pair of brackets, then it will look for whatever is the first statement which ends with semicolon. So this is what it will run after it. Okay, and this is outside it, which does not work. Has it really understood this part where you don't have curly brackets, how it works, right? And what is the role of semicolon in case of where you don't have curly brackets? Okay, is this part clear? Okay, so the next part is okay, this is easy if we have a single if, but what if we have a else? So what if I write a else over here? Okay, what is going to happen over here? So okay, let's write it. Let's write this else even without curly brackets. System dot out dot println. Let's say hello 3. Huh. So what is going to happen? Is this else going to be a part of if? Is this error or something? If we no, it doesn't work that way, right? We cannot write a system.out.println without semicolons. So it will give you error, missing semicolon. So you cannot put them, just put it inside curly brackets, right? That's the only way. Now this is an error because the else has to always be a part of if else ladder. Okay, so wherever the if is starting, else can only be associated with that. Now what we are doing over here is, see, we started the if. Now this is fine. We wrote one statement within the if also. This is also fine till here. But what happened was when we wrote this next statement, the if ladder ended over here. This is a complete different statement. It is writing something like this. So we have written something like if else, which is there, and then we have written a system.out.println. And then we have a else, which is nowhere related to whatever we have, like whatever we are running. So else cannot exist without a if. So if I run this, it will give me error like the else cannot exist without if, else without if, right? And same error we would get over here as well, right? Same thing. So this else is not a part of any if. So this we are seeing as like this else is telling that this else is without if. Now, if we don't have this second line, now this else will look for its immediate if and it will become a part of its immediate if. Okay. That's it. Okay. Now, before telling the next part of dangling else, I like to like cover one interesting part, which is nested if else. Okay, so then I'll move to this dangling else wala part. Okay, so there is a lot more on this dangling else, this not just this. Yeah, so now if you have like without bracket, if you just have else, now this else is a part of if. So this is a valid statement. You have else, you have one statement within the if, you have a else, and you have one statement within the else. The else is a part of if, which is a chain. So yeah, there is no problem in writing in this way. Okay, there is no error. But if you sandwich a statement in between, the if ends here and this else is lying without any if, so this is an error. Okay, understood? Clear? Yes, no, yep. Okay, so before moving to the next part on dangling else, let's cover this nested ifs. Okay, or before nested if I also want to cover something. So like relational operator, we have something known as logical operators as well. So what are logical operators? So logical operators are like ways to write multiple conditions together. Okay. So for example, there are only three logical operators that we have: and, or, and not. Okay. So there are three logical operators that we have. Okay. Let me write how they behave. So for example, you have two expressions. You can basically write two expressions, and their expression value can be either true or false. So you can have true and true. So if the two values that you are writing, true and true, the final value of this expression is going to be true. Okay. True and true equals to true. If the first value is true and the second value is false, then the final value is going to be false. If the first value is false and the second value is true, then also the final value is going to be false. And if both of them are false, then the final value is going to be false. Okay. The or is simply reverse of it. Here, if any one of the condition is true, then the final value is true. So true or true is always true. If the first value is true or the second value is false, then also the result is also true. If the first value is false and the second value is true, then also the result is true. And if both of them are false, then also the result is false. This is the only case where the result is false. Okay. Not is a special one. Not simply changes the type of value we have. So we have true, it changes it to false. And if we have false, it changes it to true. Not a false. This is true. Okay. Now bitwise operators are different. That we'll study later, not now. The bitwise operators that are different. A single and single or that are completely different, right? So that is like bitwise or, bitwise and, bitwise not, bitwise exclusive or. So those operators are different. Those are used for something different related to binary operations. I'll give example of all of them. Don't worry. So what are these? What is this table that I've written over here? See. So for example, let's say I have a simple question. We did this if else conditional programming. Now I want to simply check whether a number is in a given range or not. Okay, whether a number is in a given range or not. So let's say this is our number, and I want to check whether this number is within a given particular range or not. So let's say a is equal to 15, and it is within the range of, let's say, 10 to 20. So how can I check? So I can check if a is greater than or equal to 10. And it should be less than 50. But how do I check whether it is also less than 15 or not? So for that, we can use logical operators, right? So we can check if n is less than or equal to 20, let's say. So now we can say this is in the range of out.println in range 10 to 20. Okay. Else we can say not in range, let's say. So now we can use logical operators. Now how this works, see, the value that is returned by any relational logic, right? Any relational logic either results in a true or false value. So anything that you have written over here will either result in true or false. Okay, this will either result in true, false. Okay. Now this statement where we are checking 15 greater than or equals to 10, this results in true. And we have one more operation where we are checking 15 less than or equals to 20. So this is also resulting in true. So true and true, this final result of true and true operation is true. Okay. So that's how we get the value of any relational operator. Okay. No, if you use single or and single and, that is a different operator. So this is a complete different operator and it works differently, right? So that is a bitwise and. Now bitwise and a logical and is different. Like there is like I'll say the difference between bitwise and logical and is difference. How much difference you have between addition and subtraction, right? बहुत different है दोनों, ठीक है? There is no relation between them. Okay, I'll cover that, don't worry. Yeah, I'll give some examples of, yeah, I'll give that also. Okay, so this is and. Now if like one of them is so, and in case one of them is false, so for example if I give this value as 25, so if one of them is false, then it is not going to run, right? This is going to false, so this is true, but this condition is false, so this is not going to run. True and false is false, so we don't run it, we go to the else part, we print not in range. Okay, so if one of them is false, the final result is false. Now same goes for if. So for example, we have if as this, and let's say we check 20. So we can check a or as well. Okay. So let's say we check if this is greater than 5 or it should be less than 10. Okay. If any one of this is satisfied, then we are fine. We can print it as not out range or something like that. Okay, else let's say we want to print okay. So now if in case of for, even if one of them is true, right, then it prints it, right? So even if one of them is true, so for example here both of the conditions are true, 25 is greater than equals to 10, this is true, sorry, this is true, but this is false, right? 25 less than equals to 20, this is false, so this is true and false. What is true and false? This results in false. So we go to the next one. Now we have 25 greater than equals to 5, or please don't annotate, I'll have to yeah, sorry, yeah. So see, yes, I'm explaining that. Look at this. So here we are checking 25 greater than 5 or 25 less than equals to 10. Okay. So now what we are doing here, see, this is true, or so 25 less than 10 is false. Okay. This is false. So true or false finally results in true. True and false is false, but true or false is true, right? In case of or, only one of them has to be true and the result is true. In case of and, only if both of them are true, then only the final result is true. So there both the things has to be true if we want to get the final result as true. Here if even if one of them is true, we get the result as true. So here only one of them is true, but we see out of range, reason being because one of them is true, we result is true, we print it. Okay, clear? Okay, so this is how and or works, where and basically finds what's the final result, true and false, true and true, by taking and of it, or simply takes if one of them is true, then it gets the true. Now the last one is not. What happens in case of not? So not simply changes the like whatever is the true false result into something else. So for example, if I write not of a greater than equals to 0, so what does this mean? That if a greater than equals to 0, let's say not range. Okay. Or let's write else, which says invalid range. Okay, let's try to run this. Now see, we are seeing out range. Okay, so because this is satisfying, right? One of them is satisfying, so that's why we are seeing out range. So let's do one thing. Let's change it to 50. So now it does, none of them satisfies, right? So now let's try to run this. So you see invalid range. Let's look what happened actually. So we have firstly we check 25 greater than equals to 10 and 25 less than equals to 20. So what happened over here? This is true, but this is false. So true and false is false. So we don't run this part. We go to the next else. Here we have checked 25 greater than equals to 50 or 25 less than equals to 10. So this is false or this is false. So false and false is false. Okay. So this also is not running because the final result is false. So we don't run this. Now what is this one? Not. We have written not of 25 greater than equals to 0. So not of 25 greater than 0. This is true. So what is not of true? Not of true is false. So this is also resulting in false. So we are going to the else part and we are printing invalid range. Understood? So here, whatever result we got of this operation, we are changing it to not. We are changing it using not. That if this is true, change it to false. Not simply changes a true to false or false to true. Okay, now understood. So if this was like, say, if I run this in such a way that this will result in false. So let's say a is less than equals to 0. Now this is resulting in false. Okay. So now if I run this, like this part remains same, right? True, false, so that we get same. But here's what we have done. So 25 less than equals to 0. So what changed over here is now we are getting this thing as false. 25 is not less than equals to 0. So this we are getting as false and we have written a not in front of it. So not of false is true. So true we are getting this not range. Okay. Doesn't Java non-check after getting the first false in the operator? Yes, it doesn't check after getting the first false. If it gets the first false, it will not validate in case of and. In case of or, it will look for it, right? In case of or also, it will not also, it will convert it. But in case of and, that is only true. That is only true in case of and. Okay. And in case of or if it gets a true, it is not going to look for any other thing. Okay. Yeah, understood this part? Clear? Is this clear? If this is clear, then I can explain something else. Yes. Okay. So this is like how we write it, right? Now, before proceeding, I like want to check something. So let's say we have this. Okay. Now you just need to tell me whether this is true or false. Okay. And a less than equals to 10 or a equals to 5. Check it. Right, greater than 3. Yeah. See, it's printing hello world. Here there is a precedence that takes place. So for example, if we are checking 5 greater than equals to 0 and 5 less than equals to 10. Okay, we have written or there is no bracket. See, if you have brackets, then that's a complete thing. Whatever is present inside bracket, that will run first, no matter whatever the precedence is. Okay, but if you don't have brackets, then the operator precedence is very important. How these things will get executed. Okay, so a less than 5 is 5 less than 10. Okay. Now let's look at first the values. So this is true and this is true, or this is also true, and this is not of true. So not of true is false. So it is true and true or true and false. Okay. So the first thing that gets calculated is the AND operators. Okay, so AND is a higher precedence than OR. So this will first calculate it as true, or and this will get calculated as false. Okay, so here the final result that we'll see is true because the first one. So we'll go to the next. The first is okay, forget about that, whether it will check the second part or not, if depending on and or not. Right now, just try to find out everything. Okay, so this is how it is going to get the final result that this is true. Right, firstly and once and then the or. Okay, Let me do one small change. Let me change it to if this is greater than equals to 10. Yes. Now tell me what the result is going to be. Now we are seeing hello 2. Right? Why we are seeing hello 2? Just follow the same precedence that I gave you. Firstly and then or. Okay? Not as highest, not to सबसे पहले होगा. Right? See. So it is 5 greater than equals to 0 and 5 greater than equals to 10. Or 5 equals to 5 and not of 5 less than 10. Okay. So this is true and this is false, or this is sorry, this is true and this one is false, right? This is true and not of it is false. Now look, firstly and will get executed, right? If first thing is and, not it doesn't get executed in order, first is and once. So see, so this is one and which will get executed first, so this result is false. Or this one is also getting executed first, so this is also false. So false or false is false. So this is now false, and the second one is so we are going to the else part. We are going printing hello. So the first thing that get executed is the and then we execute the or. Okay. The first topmost is not. Say if I write it in order, the first preference is not, then and then finally or. This is the order in which it gets executed. Understood? If you have brackets, brackets will override any kind of priority that we have given. So if you have brackets, that will override anything, any default priority that is there. Okay. Let me write one more. And now you all tell me the correct answer for this. Let me copy this one. Now tell me what's the output of this one, hello 1 or hello 2. हाँ, precedence of not is highest, right? Not सबसे पहले execute होता है, right? Out of any and or and anything that will happen, not सबसे पहले होगा. Not then and then or. Good everyone. There is no noise. Is there any noise? No, there is no noise. Hello 1. Everyone agrees? So let's find out. Hello 1 or hello 2. Firstly, let's run it, right? So we can confirm the result. Okay, hello 1. Okay. Let's try to check this. So first is 5 greater than equals to 10, or not of 5 is greater than equals to 10. Sorry for my bad handwriting. And 5 not equals to 5 and 5 less than 10, or 5 is equals to 5. Okay, so let me firstly write the values that we are going to get. 5 greater than equals to 10, this is false. Or not of so this is 5 greater than equals to 10, this is false. Not of false is true. And 5 not equals to 5, this is false. And this is true. Or this is true. Okay, so what did I say? Firstly, all the ands. So this is false, or from left to right. So it will always execute from left to right. So this is 2 and, so this will get first trend true and false. So this is false and true or true. Okay. The first one is false or false and true. So false and true is false or true. Now there are 3 truths, so you can simply run it from left to right. False or false is false. And then you have or true. So false or true is So finally, we are seeing true, which is hello. Understood? So you just have to follow that order. Ands first, if there are multiple ands. So for example, here there were 3 ands. So which one to execute first? 2 ands. Which one to execute first? From left to right. So this true and false, firstly, we'll find out the result of that. Whatever is the result, we'll try to find out the result using that. Okay. And then we take or at the end, once we are done with all the ands, then we find out the results of or. And again, if we have multiple ors, we find it from left to right. Okay. Understood? Clear? So now if I give you any complicated expression, can you find out the whether it is true or false without running the code? Can you accurately guess, predict what is the result of that going to be true or false? Okay. Okay. Hello, at least we scored one input output question. Done. Okay. So this time for sure. Okay. Understood. So this is what if else relational operator, logical operators are. Is this part clear? I'll give you a break and then we can start from nested if and then we can see the dangling else wala part again. There is something, a lot more things in dangling else. Okay, so let's give you a break and then we'll start with nested ifs, nested conditionals. We'll also study about ternary operators as well. 15 minutes should be enough for dinner. Okay, 15 minutes. Okay. Go quickly have your dinner, come back. And I have paused it over here. So in case you want to read this, you can Hello everyone. Welcome back. Okay, let's continue. Yes. Okay. I hope you all had your dinner. ठीक है. खाना खाने के बाद सब सो जाते हैं. ठीक है. So don't sleep. ठीक है. So yes. Uh, okay. So let's move to the next part. Okay. So we saw like relational operator, logical operator. Relational operator can be used to write condition. Logical operator can be used to write complex conditions. Right? We can write complex conditions using logical operators. Okay, so now what is nested ifs? So nested ifs are basically ways to write the same condition that you are writing in logical expression, but in a different way. Okay, you can get the same thing. So for example, we did one question like we were checking whether a number is in a given range or not, right? So we checked it using AND operator, right? So we use a simple AND operator to check whether this number is in the range of 10 to 20 or something like that, right? It should be less than equals to 10 and greater than equals to 20. Sorry, greater than equals to 10 and less than equals to 20. If this is, then the number in the range. Okay. Can we do it in some other way? Actually, we can. So we can check if a is greater than equals to 10, then we can go inside this if. Okay. Now inside this if, we can write one more if condition that is called nested if, if inside another if. So this is simply a if inside another if. Okay. So what does this mean? We have written one more if condition inside another if condition, right? So what we are doing over here, let's say we'll just check if a is less than equals to 20. So the number is in the range, right? Now, when this if condition is going to run, the inside if, this if condition only runs when the outer one is true. So for example, let's say I've written hello one, or let me not write hello one, let me write in range, and we can just copy this one, paste it over here, and we can write not in range. Okay, let's try to run this. Now it will also work in, oh, so we don't have a A, that is a problem. And A is equals to, let's say 15. Okay, so 15 is in the range of 10 to 20. Okay, so now when I run this, let's see this is working fine. 15 is in the range, and this is telling it is in range or this is not in range. Okay. Okay. Now, for example, this can be used to do the same behavior that logical operators are giving you. So we checked one condition which is true. If this is true, then only we enter the body of it, right? Which is like the normal if how it works. So if this is true, we go inside this. Now we see another if else. Now this is an independent if else. This works independently of this outer if. Now we check this condition. Is this true or false? If this is true, we printed in range. That means the number is in the range of 10 to 20. If this is false, that means this is not in the range of 10 to 20. Okay. Asha, tell me one thing. What is this going to print in case if I give the value as 25? The first one is true. We enter inside the if. The second condition is false. So we go and print not in range, right? We print the else wala part where it is not in range. But Acha, what if I change it to 5? What this thing is going to print now? Ab kya print hoga? So it will actually print nothing. Why? Because the first condition itself is false. So we don't ever enter into this and we don't ever run this inner if. Ye to hum kabhi run hi nahi kar rahe, right? We are not even running this thing at ever. So if the first condition is false, we don't ever run this. Now we go to the else part. Okay. And here, what we do is, let's say we print here not in range. So now we covered all that. So there you don't need to write it in this way. There, if you just wrote if A is greater than this and less than this, and you don't need to write this else or so many things. If you just, okay, let me just show you the comparison between them. Okay, compare. So this is how we can write the same thing in logical, using logical operators. And this is how we write the same thing in nested operator, nested if else. So you'd say, sir, logical is way looking much cleaner. I don't have to do so many checks. Don't have to write so many else's. But there is one advantage of this nested if. See, So here we are just checking if it is in this range, then only we are printing. Otherwise, in all other scenarios, if A is less than 5, if A is greater than 20, right? If A is not, like not within this, A is a minus value, all the things automatically get sent. But here, what we have to do is if A is greater than 10, then we enter inside this. Now, it might be in range, might not be. But if it is less than 10, then it is definitely not in range. So for that, we have written a else that if it is less than 10, then it is definitely not in range. Okay. Now, if it is greater than 10 and it is less than 20, then it is in range. Okay, then it is in range. But if it is not like if it is not in this range, if it is not less than this, then it is definitely not in range. Right. So we'll print the else part. Okay. Now it works in this way. Now this looks a little complicated for a basic thing like range check, which this is better. But when you will have complicated conditions to write, for example, like this, okay, it's very difficult to write this condition. Right. If you ever get a logic that you have to do something like this, if this is satisfied, if this is not satisfied, then do this, otherwise this, or if this is this, then this is true, something like that. So this becomes a little bit tricky to write, right? Or I'll say very complicated to write a logical or like a expression using this logical operators in such a complicated way. So their nested if will look much more cleaner and easier to write and understand as compared to this. Okay. So here, if I tell me what are the values of A for which it is going to run, you cannot give me that range. Okay. You cannot give me that range right away because you for every value you need to check. Okay. There might be some range for which it is true. There might be some ranges for which it is not true. There might be some pattern that it is following, that for even number it's true, odd number it's false, or let's say it is true for all the numbers from 10 to 50, then it becomes false, or it is true for 5 to 10 or something like that. But you cannot you cannot give me that range without running it for all the numbers. But here it is easy to figure out, right? So this will only run if A is greater than 10. Otherwise, this doesn't run. So we immediately know anything that is less than 10 will not run this part. It will directly go to the else part. Okay. Now, once it is greater than 10, then you know that the number is definitely greater than 10. According to that, you can make the assumption for the later if else. What is going to run, what is not. So this is cleaner to read and understand in case the conditions are complicated. Easier to write as well. Complicated conditions are very difficult to write in case of logical operators. Okay. Understood why nested if is there and where can you use it? Okay, there is one assignment problem that you will be seeing today, leap year. Do you know what a leap year is? I guess you would have done it. It is so the definition that we have since childhood, that is not true. So leap year is not a year that it is divisible by like 4. Any year that is divisible by 4 is not true. Okay, that is not a leap year. So there are multiple conditions that it has to follow. Okay, so for a leap year, a year has to, if the year is divisible by 4, okay, if a year is divisible by 4, okay, it can be a leap year, but not always. If a year is divisible by 4 and 100, if it is divisible by 4 and not by 100, okay, then it is leap year. Okay, this is one thing. Otherwise, a year that is divisible by 4 and by 400, then it is leap year. So what does this mean actually? So for example, year 2004 is a leap year. Year 2008 is a leap year. So this satisfies the first condition, year divisible by 4 and not by 100. Okay, so this is a leap year. But for example, year 1900, this is not a leap year. You can Google up, this is not a leap year. This is divisible by 4, but it is divisible by 100 as well. So this is not a leap year. Okay, so this does not satisfy the first condition and neither does it satisfy the second condition. It is not divisible by 400. Similarly, year 1800 or 1700, this is also not a leap year as well. But if you look at year 1600, this is a valid leap year. Okay, so these are not leap years. Let me write it as non-leap. So these are non-leap years. Okay, for example, these years or 12 or 1300. So these are non-leap years. 1600, 2000, 2400, right? So these are leap years. So these years are leap years. So all of you, right, since you are millennials, you will be able to watch the year 2100. So you will be able to know at that point of time that 2100 is not a leap year. Okay. Well, I'll be very old. I'll be 101 years old by that time. So, okay. Okay. Understood. What is a leap year? What is a not leap year? Now I have one simple thing for you all. I guess you would have done this question, but I want you all to do this question in both ways. Try to do it using nested loops, the nested ifs, and try to do it using logical operators. Okay, try to do using both. Okay, in case you have done using nested loops, nested ifs, so try to do it using like logical operators. If you have done it using logical operators, try to do it using nested ifs. Okay. Understood? Clear, clear. Yes, no. Array rotation, that is like there in like that is there in arrays parts. I'll not pick that one up. Okay, understood. So this one I'll not tell leap year today, but I'll definitely discuss it tomorrow. But I want you all to solve it using both the ways. Okay, if you have done it using one, try to do it. See, if conditionals are very tricky. Okay, so you would have heard, right, there are bugs that comes into software when you are using something break. And 90, like I'll say, from whatever I have felt in the past 2 years of my engineering, most of the times the bugs are because of some if conditions. Okay, somewhere in if conditions, this looks like the most easiest part, but this is where most of the bugs happen. Okay, so most of the bugs are because of some if condition we have not written it like for that particular case, or it is not okay. So if conditions are very, very, very crucial. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll explain the problems today. So what I follow is I don't discuss the assignment problems on the same day. I'll discuss previous day's assignment and I'll explain today's problem. Today's problem, I'll discuss it tomorrow, right? So that you get a day to at least try it on your phone, right? So I don't come and directly discuss questions. You have something to experiment and then we'll discuss it definitely. Okay, understood? Now coming back to this question, so we have, okay, we understood what is nested ifs. We understood what is logical operators. We can do it. Now, if we have multiple like complicated logical expressions, which will face difficulty to write, we can switch to nested ifs, which is like easier way to write that. Yeah, might look complicated, but it is easier to read, easier to understand, and it is far easier to write in case of multiple such scenarios. Okay, now coming back to this dangling else problem, what is this problem now? Now, since we can have nested ifs, so let me just try to explain this problem again. So we saw, okay, so the first part of problem was key. Okay, if there is no brackets, then there is only one statement that we can write inside this. Okay, so it makes sense. So we can add only one statement. Let's say hello one. Okay. Acha. What if instead of this statement I wrote a if, which is a less than 5. Okay. Or let's say let me write a less than 5. Okay. And then write a else, or let's write a else and system dot out dot println hello. Now can you tell me what is the output of this code? Everyone believes hello too. Actually, this code is not going to give any output. Okay. Why there is no output, right? We have a else part, it should print hello too, but see, so this is known as dangling else case when you don't have so whenever you don't have brackets. Okay, so when you don't have brackets and you have multiple nested ifs, what happens is the else always associates with itself with the nearest if. Okay, else is always a part of its nearest if. So what is the nearest if to this else? The nearest if to this else is this if. Okay, now this else is not a part of actually the outer if. No matter wherever I put this spacing that it looks like this is part of outer if, it is actually not a part of outer if. It is a part of the inner if. Okay, it is a part of this inner if. It is not a part of the outer if. Okay, so this problem is known as a dangling else problem. That if there is no such scenarios, if there is no such if so, the in last else will always belongs to the nearest tick. Okay. Now, if I have a multiple, okay, so why this is not giving any output? So see, just execute this line by line. That's the rule of executing any code. So we'll run it line by line. First line, if 5 greater than 10, is it true or false? This is false. So since this is false, we don't go inside this if, and now none of these runs. Okay. Now here, there is one more question you may ask. Okay, sir, you told that if there is no brackets, we can write only one statement. How come you're writing like 4 statements, if else, and so many things? So actually, it is only so the first if is taking only one statement, which is another if. Okay, so this if only knows that there is only one statement and under me, which is this if. This if only knows that there is only one statement under me, which is this system.out.println. Okay. Now the if does not end over here since we have written a else. So else finds that there is one if that with which it can associate itself, which is its nearest if. So else gets associated with this if, and there is only one statement that is written under else. So everything is working according to the rules of programming. Every if has only one statement under it. The else has found a if to associate it with itself. So there is no violation that we are doing, right? Else has a if to else is not without a if has only one statement without brackets, right? If now the next question. So that's why this is not violating any rule and it is working as expected. Just that this else will associate itself with the immediate. Now, what if I write one more else? So what will happen to this else? So this else will associate itself with the nearest if that's available, right? So if can have only one else. So this else got associated with this if. Now this if cannot have one more else. So this else will associate itself with the outer if. Okay. So whatever is the nearest if, so it found this if, so it will associate itself with it. So this else, if I write one more else over here, so this will associate itself with this if. Now if I run this, so actually this will print hello 3. Why? The first one is false. So we go to the else part of it directly. So what is the else part of it having? It's the else part of this if is having hello 3. Okay. And this problem is known as dangling else, that in case there is a nested if without bracket, the else will always associate itself with its immediate if, that is the nearest if that's available, in case it is not associated with something else. So this else is cannot associate itself with this if, this is nearest, but this else nearest if is this if, but it cannot associate itself with this if because this if has already got an else. Okay, every if can only have one single else. They cannot have multiple else's. They can have only one single else. Okay, so this else associated itself with this if. Now this else associated itself with this if. Okay, so that's how it is working. So this look found out this is its immediate if, but this is already got an else. So this cannot associate itself with this. So this associated itself with this. Okay. Now if I run this, so you would see we are getting hello. Okay, understood? Clear? Yes, no. What happened with else if? Now what is the scenario with else if? So that is also part of chain, right? So if I write one more else if, let's say else if this less than 10. Achha, now tell me what is going to happen. What is the output of this going to be? Just run it line by line. Just remember that rule. Okay, remember that rule. Nothing. Why? See, correct. Firstly, 5 is greater than 10. This is false. Now, okay, is there any else to this? So there is actually no else to this if. If this else if is associated with this if, now this else will look for immediate if. It found an immediate if, which is this. So even though there is spacing different, but this else is associated with this if. Okay, this is not associated with the outer one. This is associated with its immediate because it was available, right? There can be only one else, and this it did not have any else associated with it. So this else got associated with this, and that's fine. Understood? Again, take it. See, the simple thumb rule that you can follow over here is कि as soon as you see if else if without brackets, okay? So the first else if that you'll see, just look for what's the immediate if to it. So this else if is a part of this. Now else you found a else, just look for the immediate if. So what is the immediate if? This if. So this is a part of this. Okay, done. If I let's say see one more else, let's say there are two else's, what is going to happen? So if there are two else, so this if has already got an else. Can there be two else with the same if? No. So this else is definitely going to be associated with the outer if. This else is going to be a part of outer if, not the inner if. Okay. And if there is no such else, like which is we are writing right now, like hello 4, then it is not going to print anything, right? In case the first condition is false, none of these is going to run. Okay. If we give brackets, there is no problem. Brackets like clear outs all the confusion, right? For if you have brackets, there is no confusion as such. Brackets may see here when I gave brackets, it was very clear that this bracket is starting over here, ending over here. So if I don't write this else, so this if does not have any else, does not have any else. There is no confusion in there because this else is a part of this if. This bracket ends over here. So if there has to be any else with this if, that has to be after this bracket. So there is no confusion in there, right? But in case you don't have brackets, this is a confusion. And this situation is known as dangling else, where you have to figure out to which if this else is associated with. Okay, how is the code going to run? So actually, it is advised that it's better to use brackets always. Okay, even while we review our codes, we ensure that every if else is with has brackets. Okay, no one has written such if else without brackets. Okay, that we do. But this is auction questions. This is there, like sometimes developers write this it in this way. So you need to know how it is working, right? Okay, so this is like how the code understood what is dangling else, how the dangling else thing works. Okay, now one simple question: what will happen if I just write a system.out.println hello 5? What is going to happen? Error. Why? What's error? So this is an error because now the else does not have any if, right? Else without if in the line number 401 and in line number 403 as well, we have else without if. Once we wrote any statement, what happened was this if else ended and this outer if else also ended. See, everyone could have only had only one statement within it. So every else if or if could have had only one statement within it. Now, once we wrote multiple statements, I am basically telling this if else is ending over here, and I'm writing one statement which is completely separate. Okay, this is not associated with the if. So this else now are line which is not having any if to pair up, and that will give you errors. Okay, understood? Clear? Understood the problem of dangling else, what it is? And this is like most common thing that is asked in interviews, and interviewers even complicate this by writing semicolons or something in front of here. Now, what do you think what will happen over here? If I just add a semicolon over here, what is going to happen? So this is error because the else if ends over here. This statement is not part of anything. Okay, this statement will run anyways, but these else's are a part. So if I comment this out, comment this else, there is no problem. It is going to run and it is going to print hello 2 every time. Okay, even if condition is true, false, doesn't matter. Ideally, should have not printed 5 is greater than 10. So this is false. So we should not have entered here. But this statement is outside any else if. Okay, so that will anyways print. But if I write else here, so this else is not having any ifs to pair up. See, else without if. Okay. So these are the kind of things that you will see as input output questions in your company exams, where you would be required to debug this like or tell the expected output, and it is not as easy as it would look like a if else condition. See, I always say if you get a very easy question, it's the most difficult question to solve. Okay, and if you get a very difficult question, then it's like expected, right? That you are getting a difficult question, you will be solving it with a mindset that it is a difficult question. But if you get a easy question and a semicolons like this, then that's a red flag. Firstly, notice where is the things breaking, what are the violations that is there, if there is error, or if there is some dangling and where this else will get associated with or something like that. Okay. Okay. Without bracket, can we only write one condition? Yes, without bracket, you can write one. If you want, you can write multiple ifs. You can write as many ifs as you want. So if you want to change this, write multiple condition, you can write if and then one more if. So if you have four conditions which you want to run in and, so that you can write in if. If you have case of ors, that you can write in else. Okay. So if this is true, this is true, this is true, and otherwise, if this is false, then what you want to do? If this is false, then what you want to do? So that you can change. Okay. But yeah, here you can only write one condition. If you have multiple, you can write logical expressions. So you can use logical operands. That is also fine. Okay. So you can use both of them, combination of nested and logical operators. This else without if error is for both else. Yes, it is for both else, right? It is for both else because here we are ending, right? So this else, now if else altogether is ending over here because since see, this else if ended, so that means this part ended. Now once this ends, this else if ends, this if ladder ends, so this if also ends because this is only having this statement under it. And if this is ending, so this else is also ending. So this cannot be associated with anything, and this also cannot be associated. So there are two errors. If you always see brackets are always preferable, even if you have single statement, even if you have two statement, always prefer brackets. Okay, that avoids any confusion and you don't have to handle these situations which will result in errors. Okay. Understood? Clear? Now play around with it. Nested ifs, play around with dangling else. Okay, you will get much more clarity on this. Okay, once you try it out yourself, it will become clearer of where this else is getting associated, where this if is getting associated. I mean semicolon. So semicolon, yes, it's correct. Like if you give semicolon, that ends the statement, so that syntactically it is correct, but it ends the if, right? So it might result in some other error that might follow. So this else won't get a if I put a semicolon. So that is syntactically correct, but it is resulting in error somewhere. So for example, if I run this right now, there is no errors. This is a complete good pair. It is checking the condition and running whichever is true. But if I put a semicolon, this ends over here. Now this else's don't find any if. So this is like not just ending it, it is also causing error in the later part. Okay. I guess if that was the question, I hope this helped. Okay, clear, understood. Okay. So see, these are the questions that you'll get in online exams of the companies, or the interviewers will be keen to ask these kind of questions because this is something where he can trick you, right? Even if you like, so if else condition is something where like someone can trick even an experienced developer as well. If I don't look carefully, someone can trick me as well. Right? So there you have to be very careful of how you're running this, and most complicated problems come because of if-else problem, if-else logic, right? So I told you, right, most of the bugs are here, right? Acha, one practical example of this complicated if-else I'll give you. Like everyone has used WhatsApp, right? So WhatsApp, there is like nowadays you have bots. Even we have a bot for EchoJob as well, right? Where you get notifications about the online classes using which you can press one to register into something, some of workshops or something, that updates that you see, right? So you can do that using WhatsApp as well, right? You have online support systems of a lot of companies. So there you like, if just you say hi, they gives you a list of options which you can choose from. Then you press one, then you see something else, you press two, something else. So that is written completely using conditional logic. There is no artificial intelligence, there is no machine learning, something. That is a complete conditional programming bot. That if the user presses one, if the user input is one, then do this. If user input is two, then do this. If user input is three, then do this. Okay, so that is a complete conditional logic that is written over there. Okay, so that is one of the best examples of conditional logic that I can give. Okay, and that is like very complicated. You can think of how nested it would be. So for example, first if user input is one, then these are the list of options that it will give you. Then if you give one or two, then it gives you another list of options. Then if you give one, two, then it gives you another list and it continues, right? If you already know HTML, CSS, so see HTML, CSS are basics right now. Like there are more frameworks are in demands. For example, React or something will help you better. So that is there immediately after it. So HTML, CSS is like 2 to 3 weeks. And if you like have you already are very confident, and I guess that is not a module, but you can skip to some other module which is having React and that. Yes. Okay. Clear about if. So everything about if, relational operators, logical operators, conditions, nested ifs, multiple conditions, dangling else, all the things are clear. No doubts. Shall we proceed? Yes, we have two more ways to write conditionals. So one is ternary. Okay. No doubts. Okay. Okay. So now what's ternary operators? So see, conditionals are good, but conditionals are like lot of code. So we developers want to do things quickly in less number of code. If it's understandable, then it's even better, right? So let's say I just want to give a value and based on some condition. Okay, let's say a value is 5. And I want to give the variable b some value, let's say b. Okay. And I want to give b some value. Let if a is greater than 5, then I want to give it. So how can I write? If a is greater than 5, then give b the value as 10. Okay. Else give b the value as 15. Okay. Something like this I have to do. Right? Normal, very basic if. Now if I can run using this if condition and I can do system.out.println. This would work. Okay. So if a is greater than 5, is 5 greater than 5? No. So we did the else part. So why last else not go to the first if? So last else is going to the first step, right? Last else is going to the first step. This is associated with the first step, like the outer if, right? So that was not going because when I put this semicolon, this entire thing was ending over here. Okay, now this did not have any thing to pair up. So that's why we were seeing errors. Understood? So why else if? So else if was getting associated because this else if, after this else if I put semicolon. If I put the semicolon over here, so else if also would not get associated. Understood? Right, if I put the semicolon over here, even else if would not find a thing to associate itself with. Look at this one. If I do the bracket over here, let me just 1 second comment this out. So you will see this else if is telling else if without if, right? Else is without if. Okay, so now we are seeing errors everywhere. So this is without if, this is without if. Okay, depending on where we have ended, right? The if, so that's like the entire case. Okay, let's move forward. Now in case of ternary, this is how we do it in using if else, right? So we write if a is equals to this, if this condition satisfies to this, otherwise to that. Okay, now we have a shortcut way to do this, which we call as ternary operator, or we call it as question mark colon operator. This is also referred as question mark colon operator because it uses question mark and colon. Okay, so how do we write it? We write condition if this is true, right? If this is true, then do this. So this is expression 1, whatever you want to do over here, colon expression 2, okay, whatever you want to do over here. Okay. So this is a shortcut way of writing the same thing which you can do in a single line. So instead of doing it in this way, right, what you can do is let me put this up. What I can do is I can assign b with if 5 is greater than, sorry, if a is greater than 5, then assign it the value 10 or 15. Done. Let's run this. Now this is also going to give the same result 15. It is also working the same way here, just that we have another operator known as ternary operator, using which we are checking whether this is true or false. Okay. If the condition is true, then we are giving the value 10. If it is false, then we are giving the value 15. If I make the condition false, so for example, let's make it 3. So 3 is greater than 5. This is false. So now, sorry. Okay. Now we are getting 15. This is false. Earlier also it was false. But if I make it 10, so 10 is greater than 5, it is true. Now it is true, so we'll get the value 10. Okay. Now, expression 1, no, this is the like thing that runs. Okay? This is the value that you are going to get in the B value. Okay? We don't even need to write this in such a way that you are always using it for assignment. We can write it in some other way. For example, we can check if 10 is greater than 20, or let's say if a is greater than 20, then let's say do this system dot out dot println. We can do greater. I guess colon. I guess this works. Like, I'm not sure of syntax on here where there is lesser. Okay, let's try to run this. Oh, sorry. First is this problem. Okay, this has to be question mark. Does it work in this one? No. Okay, we cannot have this. This has to be in brackets or something like that. इस तरीके से तो लिख सकते हैं हम कि इसमें कैसे ठीक है. This is not a statement. ठीक ऐसे नहीं वर्क करेगा तो इसको ऐसे तो लिख सकते हैं. Let's see. It's in this system dot out dot println. A greater than 10 question mark. Column. Yes, sir. Now it is working, right? So this is like, say the first expression is true, then it is going to give this value. Right? It can be, we might put it into some variable, we might print it, right? In C programming language, there is like way to even write a like println statement over here. I guess यहाँ पे भी होगा. I just am not able to figure out that using println, but yeah, you can do that as well. Greater, lesser, all those things you can do. Okay. Now, like for example here, right? So either we can, so this is used for smaller operations, right? So for example, if this is satisfying this condition, then do this. Otherwise, give this value at this. Print this, otherwise print that. So ternary is a small, like you can say, small scale conditional operator. Very small, works on very small things. We generally is written for small things. We can write a complicated ternary expression as well. Okay. Acha. Okay, let me tell you something. Okay. Understood what is ternary expression first of all, then I'll show you a very interesting example. Is this clear? So basically you have condition. If it is true, expression 1. If it is false, expression 2. Simple. Can anything be simpler than this? Okay. Now before any ternary expression, let me solve one question. Find largest among 3 numbers. Okay, let's take a is equals to 5, b is equals to 10, and c is equals to 50. Do you know how to find out the largest among 3 numbers using if-else condition? Forget about ternary. Can you do it using if-else conditions? Yes. If a is greater than b and a is greater than c, then we can say a is largest. Else, if b is greater than a and b is greater than c, system dot out dot println b is largest. Else Tell me, is this the correct code or is it correct? It's fine. Everyone agrees. Yes. This code is wrong. This is 100% wrong code. Okay, now figure out what's the wrong in it. Again, this is how bugs happen in production, right? You see bugs in production, this is how bugs happen. So see, it's telling C is largest. Okay, working fine, but this is not correct. And is fine, it should be and. Tell me what's wrong in this code. No. Else if, yeah. No, that's correct. Else if is correct.
Say
Not-
equals to. Equals to.
Yes. So see, this is working fine if all the three numbers are different. But let me put 15 and 15. Okay. A is 15, B is 15. So, okay, let's put B as 10. So these two values are 10. Okay, A is 15. So which is the largest among these three values? So the largest number among these three values is 15. Okay. Now if I run this, it is going to tell me not 15 is largest. It is going to tell me C is largest. Okay. 15. Okay, 15 is. Okay, let me. Okay, I forgot. Sorry. This is 15. Okay, this will be false. Now it will be false. This will be false. Okay. Now, if I run this, now it will actually say me C is the largest value. Why? In either it should have told A or B, that's fine, but C is nowhere the largest value over here, right? C is the smallest one. Why it is happening? Because I'm checking A greater than B. 15 greater than 15, it is false. Okay, then I'm checking B greater than A, 15 greater than 15, it is false. And then we are telling C is largest. Okay. So how do we solve this issue? So this is a wrong code, right? It is not giving the correct answer in all the situation. It is giving wrong answer in some situation. So this code is wrong, right? So the simple solution is just need to add equal to over here. So if A is greater than equals to B, A is greater than equals to C, then A is largest, right? It is larger than or equal to the largest number. So A is largest. Okay. If B is greater than equals to A or B is greater than equals to C, okay, then B is largest. Okay, so now if A and B match, so it will say A is largest. The first one it find out is A was largest. Okay. If B and C matches, so it will say or B is the largest. Okay. If none of them match, then like the logic is anyways correct. If all the three numbers are different, but if they are equal, then it is not correct. Right? So now it is saying B is largest, which is fine. Okay. Understood? Yeah. And yeah, this is how bugs go into production, right? So we basically write it, mostly we miss out on these small cases, right? Where this will be true, this will be false, equal to, not equal to, such scenarios. And later on production, we see something not working as expected. How to write B and C is largest? So that situation you can write separate else if, right? Like for example, if you want to, if multiple of them are largest and you want to check which one is largest, then you can write a separate else if, right? If A is equals to B and if A is equals to B and A is greater than C, then A and B both are largest. If you want to do that, then you can write it in one more condition. Okay, so you can just extend more conditions to do that. If you have multiple largest values, right, common largest, and you want to print both of them. So for example, here you don't want to do this. So you need to, before writing this else, you need to do a lot of things, right? So you cannot write this else. You need to write it in this way, that if C is greater than A and C is greater than B, then you can say C is largest. If none of them is true, right? That means something is equal. So you can check if A is equals to B and A is greater than C. That means A and B, both of them are largest. So here, what does it mean? A and B, both of them are largest. So A and B are largest. Okay. Next, same thing you can check for like B and C, A and C, right? And then you have multiple conditions. You can check A with C, and if A is greater than B, then A and C are the largest ones. A is equals to C. Else, same thing. Here you have to check with B and C. So you can check C with B, and this has to be greater than A. If that's the scenario, then B and C is largest. And what will be the final else? Can anyone tell me? क्या होगा final else? Final else is all of them are equal. So this is a correct way of writing. In case you want multiple truths, then also you are getting a different result. Okay. But yes, this is actually the correct way of writing this condition. Understood? A is largest, B is largest, C is largest, and so on. Okay. Now, why did I tell this? How was this related to ternary? Now let's come back to ternary operator. See, so we understood so much about if else condition, but see, again we saw some error and we found it difficult to figure out ki kahan error hai, right? There is no error, right? So see, if else conditions are so tricky. I always say this is the most trickiest part. Easy hai, but tricky. Okay. Now can we write the same thing using ternary operator? Can we find out the largest among three numbers using ternary operator? Yes, we can actually do it. So let's try to write that using ternary. So you all write your own logics. And here also you can use nested ternary. So a ternary operator inside another ternary operator. That also you can do. Okay. So colon will be like the else part. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Let's get it as let's get the largest value. Okay. So if A is greater than equals to B, okay, and A is greater than equals to C, what does this mean? A is greater than A is greater than B, A is greater than C. That means A is the largest. Okay, I'm writing the first one. I'm not writing the second one. You can try to write this one. Okay, it will be way more complicated. I'm not going to write this in ternary. Okay, I'll write this one, which is easier. Okay, where in case of multiple of them are largest, I'll just print one of them. Okay, so if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, that means A is largest. Otherwise, which one is largest? Otherwise, B can be also largest or C can also be the largest one. Okay, now we have choice. We either B can be the largest one or C can be the largest one. So we can say A is great if B is greater than equals to C. See, if this is false, if this thing is false, that means that it definitely means that A is not the largest one. A is not greater than either A or not greater than either B. ठीक है, A या तो B से बड़ा नहीं है या तो C से बड़ा नहीं. Either A is less than B or either A is less than C. That is 100% confirmed. If A was greater than both of them or even equal to, then we would have already printed A is largest. If we are coming to check this, right, that means this was not true. So either A is not greater than B or A is not greater than C. Now, whichever among this is greater, right? Let's say B is greater. So that means B is also greater than C, because B is greater than A and B is greater than C. That means B is greatest. Okay. If like C is greatest, let's say C was greater over here, B was less than A. So if B is less than A, so this condition will not satisfy, right? So if B is less than A and C is greater than A, then how can B be greater than C? ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता. I am telling, think about this. So I am telling that A is 5, let's say, B is 10 and C is 15. Okay. So A is not greater than any one of them. Okay. Or let's consider this situation that C is equals to 2. That means A is greater than C, but A is not greater than B. Okay. So what I'm checking is B greater than C. Yes, if B is greater than C, that means B is greatest. B was already greater than A and B is greater than C. So B is greatest. So that means B is the greatest one. If this is not true, okay, if B is not greater than C, that means definitely C is greatest. Okay, now why can I say C is greatest? So see, look at this particular example. So let's say we have this in this way. A is 5, B is let's say 2 and C is let's say 8. Okay. So B is less than A, but C is greater than B. So this is false, right? This one will not satisfy. A greater than C will not satisfy. We go to this, check this. Is B greater than C? 2 is greater than equals to 8? No, this is false. That means B is less than C and C is greater than A. So it definitely means C is the greatest one. Okay, clear? Now, whatever result we'll get from here, this is very complicated to write. Think in one go and to write it. And now if I run this, here 15, which is the largest one, we are getting the correct result. Even if we have multiple equals to, we will get the correct result. And if you just want to get the value, then doesn't matter from which variable it is coming, B or C. Okay, clear? Now can you figure out the largest between 3 using normal if else or ternary operator? Okay. If you want to try something challenging, then try to do this one using ternary. Okay, take a day, but yeah, since now you have lesser things to solve, right? I guess the assignment would be solved easily. Try to solve this one using ternary. Okay. And trust me, a lot of time ternary is like very cleaner to write, easier to write, and we use nested ternary. SNE, we don't use nested ternary at all. We use nested ternary. In React, we have something known as conditional CSS, where we like always use nested ternary, no matter how complicated it is. We like really write it using conditions. So yeah, even in our code base, I have seen like very complicated ternary operators there written. I also myself have written some complicated ternary operators there for other developers as a headache. Okay. Ternary is a less code, but it is like little bit difficult to understand than if else. If else is like very easy to understand, right? This is easy to understand. If I write just this in if else, it is easy to understand, right? So ternary becomes a little bit difficult to understand. But yeah, it is lesser code always. Okay, clear? So conditionals, ternary operators, clear? No doubts? I would prefer if else any day over ternary or anything. Okay. So let's move to the last part of conditional, which is switch case. See, we are already almost on time and we have still one thing remaining. And I told like this is actually 2 classes. I have told in the last module to split it into 2 classes, conditionals and loops, but it's still there. So we'll get one additional session. Don't worry, right? We have one additional session. So if there is something mentioned in the module and that is not covered by me in the session, right? So you don't have to worry. That's like my responsibility to take additional sessions to cover it. Okay. So if we are lagging, so that's like my responsibility to cover it using additional sessions on Saturdays or Sundays. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. In second case, if B is greater than A. So if so actually this would work in all cases, even if like let's say B is greater than A. So B is greater than A, and if B is greater than C, then B is the largest. If B is greater than A and B is not greater than C, if C is greater than B, that means C. What you are telling is ki, B is greater than A. Okay, so B is greater than A. And C is greater than B. So C is definitely the largest, right? C is anyways going to be greater than A. So ये follow हो जाता, right? If C is greater, so this is what we call as associative or कुछ तो law होता है ना? I don't remember that term. That if C is greater than B and B is greater than A, then C is automatically greater than A. This is always true, right? If this is true. Transitive nature, yes, transitive thing. Yes. Clear? Understood? Greater is always associative to reverse होता है. ठीक है. Thanks for clarifying that. Just only take less memory than traditional conditions. There is no memory over here. There is no memory. It is just like ternary was not developed to write these complicated things. Okay, ternary is not never developed to write complicated expressions. It is always developed to write these smaller things. Okay, so because if you write if else, it will be too much code. This looks cleaner, easy to understand, and it can be written in a single line. Okay, so lesser code looks better, cleaner, easier to understand. Right. So ternary is developed for these kind of things. Fast line execution, it's same. Fast conditional, ternary, execution time, it is same, memory, everything, it is same. Okay. So last part, which is switch case. So switch is another way of writing conditionals. Okay. So how do we write in switch? So in switch, we have switch, condition, and then we have cases. Okay. So we have a bracket and inside which we write cases. So we have case and then a value. So let's say value 1. So actually not it is, I'll say not is a, it's not a condition, or I'll say it is a value. Okay. Then we have break. We have some statement, then case value 2. Then break. Okay, and so on. Okay, so this is what switch case is. Now, okay, so what does it do? So let's take a value, let's say a is equal to 5. So what switch case checks is, firstly, you can give a value over here. We can give the first value. Now it will compare. Yes, sure. After the class, I always wait for 10-15 minutes. If you have any questions, I'll take up. Okay, no issues. So if we just check it with the cases. So if the case is 1, let's say we just want to print hello 1. Okay. And then we write break. Okay. Then we have case 2. We can print system dot out dot println hello 2. Okay, and so on, like, and then break. And here also you have a else kind of thing, which is known as default. If none of them is true, then we go to the default. Okay, and we run this, whatever is in system dot out dot println. Let's say in default, I just print hello world. Okay. Okay. So, okay. So what happens over here is, firstly, we give the value 5. We check which case it is matching. So the value 5, is it matching with 1? No. Is it matching with 2? No. So we go to the default, we print hello world. Okay. Let's say if we have a case 5. Okay. Case 5, if we have this, and we have system dot out dot println, and we write it as hello 3. Okay. And break. So now it will check with case 1 not matching, case 2 not matching, case 5 it is matching, so it will print hello 3. Okay. So see, it's matching with case 5, hello 3. If I remove this, so now it is not matching with anyone, so it will print the default one. Okay. Now again, why do we have switch case? What is something that switch case does which we cannot do in if? There is nothing. You can write every conditionals in if. Okay, it will work very fine. There is no problem. Switch case is just like for like better readability or better. So for example, if you just have comparison, switch case can only do comparison, right? It cannot do greater than, less than. If I have to check something is in range, that I cannot do. It just equates if something is equal or not. So it looks like a cleaner code to write, right? It is looking cleaner with less number of brackets or something. You don't need to write brackets after case. In case you have multiple statements, you can write them directly. You don't need to write brackets. Okay. So if you have hello 1 1, so that also you can write. It is not going to devs use switch case, right? This is only for devs, right? So devs use it because the like logic looks cleaner, right? It is looking cleaner if I just have a comparison. If the comparison is just like equal to, so switch case is just used for comparison like equals to. इस comparison के लिए use करते हैं, ठीक है? So if you know that the comparison is always equal to, yes, it works for characters, strings, float, boolean, double, everything it works. It compares that exactly equal. If it is exactly equal, then it will work. Okay, so you can write a character over here as well. That is also fine. You can write a string as well. That is also fine. Character will be within single quotes, string will be within double quotes, everything works. Okay, but it is always just used for this equal to comparison. No, I guess float long. Okay, chalo, let's check. Long to use कर सकते हैं, float, and that might be the situation. वो that we cannot use. Long 20. ठीक है, so this is. But actually, even if you typecast it, will it not be allowed? Okay, so long is not allowed because of the reason of loss concept. Okay, so it takes integer. What is the reason for float? Let's check. Float maybe is it lossy? Okay, so same reason. Okay, same reason. Okay, so I got it. Okay, understood. Okay, I forgot this case. Okay, so that's correct, right? So float, double, and long will not work. Reason being that this value has to be integer. Strings and characters will work. Okay, strings and character is not going to be a problem. Okay, so character is like a normal integer that will understand. If you can put a character and you can compare it over here. Okay, so that is not going to be a problem. So let's do that once for a character to validate this. See, okay. Let's try to run this. So character is fine. See, A is matching with A, so these two statements are within it. So it will print it. Okay. So characters are fine. You can take them as characters. Strings also, I guess, would be fine. So in case you want to take it as string, let's check for string. Because equal to works on strings. So I have to run this. Yeah, strings also work fine, right? So strings also work fine, character also works fine. It's just that you cannot put long int and double values because it expects either apart from this, it only expects integers, and there is like lossy conversion that is happening because of it, and it is not Java won't allow a lossy conversion. So you can actually do it in one way. So for example, if you have this as long or something, so you can typecast it to integer over here. It will result in a lossy conversion, but then you will be able to use it. If you typecast it to integer, then you can use anything, long, float, double, or anything, right? So it's working. If you have a float and you can typecast it into integer, then float will also work, and same goes for double. Okay. So using typecasting, you can get the solution. But without typecasting, float, double, and this thing will not work. Okay. First, tell me, understood this part that where you have a value, you are comparing it with some case value. If that is true, then you run that statement. Whatever statements are there, if there are multiple, then you run those multiple. There is no need of brackets or anything. Whatever colon until you see a break, it runs till that. Okay. Now, is it all? Now, there is one very common famous problem on switch case, and this is like the if you get a switch case, then 90% of chance this is the problem of a fall through. Okay. So, what is fall through? So this is a condition in switch case where we run multiple conditions because of missing break. So what does this mean? So what it means actually is, okay, let's say we have this A is equal to 5. Okay. And I have, okay, let me not like change this thing, copy it, comment it out, paste it over here again. Yeah. So let's say we have this as 5. This is 2, let's say this is 3. Okay. And I simply remove the break from everywhere. Okay. So what is going to happen is, see, first it will check A is equal to this is matching with 5. So what it will do is it will print these two statements. Now, since there is no more break, okay, so it will print every other statement until it sees one break. So it saw a break over here. Till then, it printed every statement, no matter whether that case was satisfying or not. Okay, and this is known as fall through. In case you don't write break, yes. In case you remove all the breaks, so whatever is the first condition that will satisfy. So here this case 5 is satisfying. So from here on, all the statements will run. Everything will print. See, hello 1, hello 11, hello 2, hello 3, hello world. Everything is printing. Okay. What if this case does not satisfy and we have this case is satisfying? Okay. So it will not print these two lines, but whatever is satisfying. So this satisfied, and after this, everything will print. So which statement satisfies, from there it prints everything. It doesn't print all the statement in case you don't have break. The condition which is satisfying, from there it will print all the other things, right? So for example, here it satisfied, so it printed all the statements after it, not these two statements. So these two statements will not print because the condition is not satisfying. Okay, and this situation is known as fall through, which happens in case of missing break. Now, for example, if in case of this, right, we are saying hello 2, hello 3, and hello world. If I add a break over here, what is going to happen? So it is going to print hello 2, hello 3, and then it is going to break. Okay, so it is not printing hello world. Okay, so simple explanation is whatever I wrote over here, right? What did I write? If the condition is a switch case where we run multiple condition because of a missing break, or in simple words, it will keep on executing statements until it sees a break. Okay, if I just say it alternatively. Enhanced switch case, yes. Hey, I'll come to that one. Okay, first tell me understood this one. Is this clear? When you don't have breaks, it simply executes everything after it until it sees a break or until the if condition, like until the switch case ends. Okay, simple. Now, is there any application of this? Can it be used in some way? Yes, it can be actually used in some way. What's the case? So, for example, let's say the OR behavior that I was telling, right? So here you can simply write if this is equal to this or not. So this is used to replicate a OR behavior. So for example, if the A value is 2 or A value is 5, I simply want to run these three statements. So what I can do is I can simply write it in this way. And actually this behavior is coming from fall through. See what is going to happen. So if I just write it in this way, so this is, so what would happen is it will check case 2. Is it true? If it is true, then it is going to run everything until it sees the break. So it is going to print everything. Okay. It is false, then it will go to check case 5. If it is true, it will run everything until it sees the break. So case 5 is true, so it will run everything. So what is actually happening? If A value is 2 or 5, these three statements are going to run. So it is similar to writing a logical OR operator that we write in if-else conditional programming. See, so here A value is 5, we are seeing these three values. And then we are stopping. If A value is 2, then also we'll see these three values. It is similar to writing a OR that we were writing in case of logical, like if-else condition. Can we change it? You can write as many cases as you want, case 10, case 12, how many cases you want to write, you can write them. And this all will run only like, can we perform as well or? So actually there is no way, right, to perform or it will check using this only. It is a direct comparison. Whatever value you gave over here, whatever value you have written after the case word, right? If this case is a keyword, or whatever value you have written after it, it will directly compare it. Okay, there is no like greater than, less than, or any other logical complex things that we can write. It will directly compare. Simple comparison operation happens. Okay, it's just that we are comparing it multiple values using the like using fall through as an advantage. We are writing multiple cases so that we can run like particular lines if one of the condition satisfies. Okay. So see what is happening over here is, so here I told that what happens in fall until, like if the one of the condition is true, until you see the break, you keep on running everything, right? That is fall through. Here exactly that thing is happening. Okay, what is happening? So if A is 2, that means we'll keep on running until we see the break. Where are we seeing the break? After these three statements. So these three statements will anyways print. Okay. So let's say A value is not 2, A value is 5. So what is going to happen in case of false? What do? We don't do anything, right? Now A value is 5. So what we do? We'll keep on running until we see the break. So A value is 5, we'll keep on running this until we see the break. So in that situation, all three statements are going to run. And same goes for A value is 10. So basically what we are writing that if A value is either 2 or 5 or 10, run these three statements, otherwise go to the next case. No, we cannot write AND operator. We cannot write OR operator. Tell me how will you write? There is no way, right? This is a direct comparison. Right? See, this is a direct comparison. So this is equivalent to a direct comparison that this does, right? This is double equation. And this is what is happening over here. So whatever you write, whatever value you write over here, that is getting directly compared. So there is no scope of giving operator, right? So in case of if else, let me just show you what was happening. So in case of if else or in ternary, you were writing this greater than, less than, greater than, equals to, less than, equals to. In case of if also you were writing. But are we doing something here? No. So if I tell you to find out the largest between three numbers using a switch case, you cannot do it. There is no way. There is no possible way to find out the largest among three numbers using switch case. वो possible ही नहीं है, right? Understood? No, if one of them is true, then also it is going to run, right? Fall through wala situation. If one of them is true, then also it runs. Right? Does not need to be all of them to be true. If one of them is true, then it's fine. Right? Understood? No, yes, confusing. It is the use of such type of case. Basically, switch case is more of like a development thing. So whenever you develop software, this code of switch case looks much more cleaner than if else, where you just have to compare, right? So if you are doing just a comparison operation, so we prefer writing switch case, but yeah, that can be done using if else, right? So programmers are like way picky. Someone thought if else, like he's bored of if else, let's create something new. He created switch case. Okay, then he created a situation of fall through. Okay, to make it even more interesting, so people, students will be learning this. Asking, can we perform operation instead of printing if is one? You can perform operation. That's fine, right. That's fine. Nitin, you can perform a operation instead of printing. You can do anything, any logical operation, any arithmetic calculation, whatever you want to do. Okay, that you can do. Okay, so one example I'll give you. Try to create a calculator. Okay, try to take two user input. So let me write the question. Okay, so try to do this and you'll get to understand which case. So take two user input. Okay, user inputs. Okay, now take a character as input. And what is this character going to be? This character can be anything like plus, minus, into, divide, modulo. Yeah. And try to like perform the operation that the user has given. Whichever character user is given, try to perform that operation and try to solve it using switch case. Okay, try this. So you have to take the character ch over here and then you can compare. If the case is plus, then you do addition. If the case is minus, you do something else. If the case is division, then you do something else. Okay. Understood? Okay. Using this multiple cases, I'm getting error in input like multiple case errors. You cannot use comma. Comma you cannot use. You have to use colon case, right? So if you have multiple, so you cannot write 2, 5, 8. This is not allowed. This is not allowed. So you have to write case 2 colon case 5 colon case 10. That is 2. You can write it in this way. Okay. Understood? Sure. Modern switch case format. That I guess doesn't work over here. That is like for a advanced Java version. If it's there, this doesn't work for all versions, and even that's not there in most programming language. Yes, comma is now like treated as or. It works in C++. I guess 24 C++14 it works, but it doesn't work in other languages. Other C++ variations. Same I guess with Java compiler issue. Right, so the comma is actually a or, but it doesn't work everywhere. So that is a that might be a compiler specification. Okay. So this is what all the conditionals are. This is how you have all conditionals, if else, ternary, switch case, all the conditions that you can use. Right. For now, I'll say it is stick to if else. That's the most common one, and you're going to use if else the most. Switch case is just like a code and answer, so you can like use it. But right now, you won't need anything of switch case. You need to know just there is something like switch case. If this is how it works, then what is fall through, all those things you need to know. If you ever want, you can use it. That's fine. Ternary operator, if you have small kind of operations, you can use ternary. If you have complicated, I'll suggest switch to if case. That is easier, cleaner to write, easier to debug, easier to understand. If there are a lot of multiple conditions, use nested if instead of logical operators. That is easier as compared to like multiple logical operators. And finally, like if else is like always the best thing to choose. And remember the case of dangling else, right? Where there is like multiple else's, how it would get associated and in what situations you'll get error when it will work fine. Okay, solve this question of leap year. And tomorrow we'll start by discussing with ASCII code. That is something which I want to discuss. And then we'll understand loops and nested loops. Loops will listen, nested loop, we have one more session. We will start with loops. Okay, was the session helpful? Did you come to know something more about conditionals today? Okay, see, conditional was so basic, right? I guess you all would have even solved all the assignment, but there were so many new things that we learned, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is how we'll take it from here, right? We'll try to, even though you know things, I won't like, I can guarantee that if you attend the session, you're definitely going to learn something more, right? So like recording will be just available in the platform itself. So like if you just look at, so I'm not discussing the first day question. I guess you all would have done it. So in case you have doubts, okay, we can discuss it tomorrow. But I guess यहाँ पे I don't generally get doubts of students. So I'm sure that you would have done it. Okay. The only issue I get over here is that printing up to 6 decimal places. Here there might be question of loop. So that is like something which will start from tomorrow, or other conditional logics you can complete. Okay, that you can complete for now. Loop questions I'll start with tomorrow and we'll discuss that. Here there will be option of recording. So for example, this one would have a lecture. Yes, so this one is a lecture. So this is like the recording that you can watch. Okay. There. I'll share the online GTP note. Okay. Is the community working for you? So because I saw the community active for me now. So is the community working for you all? Yes. Okay. So let me paste it in the community itself so that you all can verify it and check it from there. So this is where you'll get it, and few people have even dropped off here. So now you have the community. We'll go over here. So let me paste it in the chat as well, rather than this opens. I have a question. How much CSS and React, to get React jobs in your company as a fresher you use? So if you use React, then how much CSS? So actually, being honest, when I I got as a fresher, so like it was more of DSA, not a front end specific roles around. There is some issue that's there that I'm facing to open this. It's there, but it's not opening. So I'll correct this. I have pasted the link for now. So now, like what I would say is ki now the interview process has changed a little bit. So now they, since there is a lot of abundance of resources who are well versed in tech, so they want to prefer someone who is already knowing. So CSS, I would say, like intermediate, not very good CSS. Intermediate level CSS is fine. React concepts are very like interviewer would expect you to have understanding of all the React concepts. So, and that is like, because React is a very limited concept, right? Even I would say if not more than 10 weeks, 10 days to learn all the concepts in React. That's how small library it is. So less features, right? So that's why interviewers ask everything about React, no matter you're applying for fresher or for a senior role. Will you teach us? Yes, how to connect backend and frontend, that will be taught, and you'll get a proper project that will have both frontend and backend part. Yes. So for those who don't have doubts, you can drop off. Thank you, everyone. For those who have doubts, I can take it up for next 10 minutes. Yes. What about backend? So basically, see, so how it works is, so firstly you understand the front end part, which is easy, right? Front end is a little bit easier to understand because you see the thing, right? So something that you see, it is easier to understand. Back end, you just call a API, get the things done. Now logic is there in API, right? So that is like little bit more to understand than the first go, but yeah, gradually you'll understand. So first we complete the front end part where you like understand building front ends. You have mock APIs using which you can get data. And later what we do is we create a backend. Now we create a complete full stack project. You can add your front end, add your backend, and create a full working front end and backend project. How to build strong programming logic? Practice, right? It requires a lot of practice. You can just keep on practicing DSA. See why DSA, everyone focuses, why all the companies, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, everyone is worried about only DSA, and why they don't just hire for development. See, development is something anyone can learn, right? Anyone can learn development using any framework, React or something, like within months, right? Within 1 to 3 months, 3 months, 4 months, you can even build good projects as well. But DSA is something which will help you develop logic or programming logic. Now, if you face a complicated problem while writing code, okay, and you are not very well versed in DSA, you don't know what hash maps are, you don't know what objects are, you don't know how trees work, right? You don't know all these advanced concepts, how you can manipulate an array to get the same work done in lesser amount of time. So there you will get stuck, right? You don't know DSA, so you cannot solve that problem anyways. So DSA helps you build this logic to solve this complicated problem. And see, development तो कोई भी कर सकता है, right? The project that I'm working on, so we can give it to a freelancer and he can also build that site, right? So why do Microsoft hire so many developers to build it, right? So here is like the challenge is that the freelancer won't be able to get the code quality and the scalability that we are trying to build. It won't be able to get it, right? And that will only come when you do a lot of DSA, when you are well versed in optimizing code, writing better code that does not have bugs, right? Solving a lot of DSA will also help you clear out your bugs. So for example, one problem that we saw, finding greatest number among three. So simple problem, right? Very simple if else conditional program. Now, if you give it to some other like your friends, now you will see that they are making the same mistake of that equal to, and that is happening because whenever we are writing code, we are never checking whether if this code is going to work in all the test cases. But if you solve DSA problems continuously, you see 5 cases passing, 5 cases failing, your mindset would automatically become that what are the cases when my code will not work? Okay, this is working when the numbers are different, but when is there any situation when my code will not work? And that you will yourself be able to figure out without running the code as well. Okay, so that is where DSA helps you a lot. In speed of typing speed, my typing speed is very bad, right? You can observe, so that doesn't matter most of the time in contest as well. Typing speed is not, so if it's like very slow, then you can solve questions that will definitely improve it. If it is like intermediate, then it's fine. You don't have to be a very good fast typing speed, right? How many days it takes to start the infrastructures? So we are like, we'll generally start very soon. So we have one more loops classes and just one loop and one nested loops. After that, we have just direct arrays, right? So if we start arrays, so we start with DSA. Okay, array is the most fundamental data structure that we have. Again, it is very, very important. I guess you know arrays, you have done it, but not in the way that I'm going to cover it in the module. Okay, so you have seen arrays, that was in pre-course. You don't know anything about how array is stored in memory, what are the memory implications of array, how array, what is the time complexity of things in array. So all those things we'll see in very much more detail. Okay. Like React and API router stuff. I know all this intermediate. Yes, how much teaching should I do? So see, DSA is something which anyways, no matter front end, back end, pick DSA, do it. No matter whatever you are going forward to think of front end, back end, that is different. DSA to karna hi hai. Okay. Nowadays, like companies take in senior level, so they take DSA rounds. So DSA is must, wo to karna hi hai. Apart from that, if you know front end, that is fine. You can learn back end as well. Full stack is even more select, right? Front end is good. Front end is like high demand. React is one such framework which is very high demand right now. Everyone is building using React. There's no alternative to React right now, being honest. If you look at any company, everyone is building their front end using React. So you are applicable, like you are eligible for all the company front end roles, right? Into coding, how much time should I put in? So I'd say the same amount of time that you put in class, 3 to 4 hours, 4 hours at least, 3 to 4 hours of personal coding for now at least. Begin with that, gradually you will increase, but at least begin with 3 hours. Okay. Spring Boot is used a lot in the Okay, Spring Boot is used a lot in industry. After JavaScript, if I say something that is used a lot is Spring Boot. Okay, I lost the light. Oof. Okay. Spring Boot is like I'd say Spring Boot is even used more than Node.js in the backend in the rules. But yeah, for our front end we just have React. But in front end there are only 2 DSA modules. So see, DSA modules you can so that is one choice that you can make, so that you don't have to worry about that for now. For now, just focus on the basics. If you feel like, sir, I did 2 modules of DSA and I feel very good in doing DSA, I want one more module. So there is I guess we have 4 modules of DSA. So you can pick that as well. So complete DSA path, and then later you can build some backend project and front end part. Like one month of backend, 1 month of front end. That would also be sufficient. But if you feel like this much DSA is too enough, so like at least basic DSA should be fundamental, should be strong. That will happen definitely in the first 2 D modules itself, and then you can think of whether you want to do advanced or you want to go to depth. More DSA. So Nitesh, you can just communicate that with your batch manager, that I don't think it's going to be an issue. You can do 3 modules of DSA, and from 4th module you can start with React front end. Okay, you can reduce one like dev module somewhere, so that will cover up, right? So don't worry about those paths right now. Just focus on the current module. At the end of the module, you take the decision. In the second, right now you don't even have to take. You have to take it in the second module. That's 2 months from now. So don't worry anything about it. You will get guidance. You will get mentorship. You yourself will get the idea कि क्या करना है. Okay. There's one assignment to take input until it encounter odd one. Yes. So that is an infinite loop, right? So you have to write an infinite loop and you have to use break one way, or you can write a for loop such that the condition satisfies initially and then it keeps on satisfying until you give a odd number. Okay. Or you can alternatively use a do while loop. So 3 ways I told you to do it. You can now figure out how many gym questions. Try to do at least 10. Okay, at least now you can at least do 10. Going forward as topics increase, difficulty increases, so you'll be like be able to do 3, 5, 7 would vary, but try to keep a target as 10, so at least you do 5. Okay. I'm very bad at CSS, being honest. So so the project that we work on so it's a front end project, but I would say is so CSS is a very small part of it. I would say that CSS and HTML are less than 5 to 10%, because we like those. There is a lot of additional work that happens apart from this. So we don't require animations, key frameworks. So those things we don't require. So my CSS I would say is intermediate, right? When I react with less CSS skills, yes, intermediate ones is fine, right? Intermediate is fine. You don't need to create animations or a framework that that don't think anyone would be expecting from a fresher. Okay. So CSS is very vast, right? Even if you do it for years, you will still be learning. So I've been doing front end for 2 years. I'm still learning CSS. Like I always say it, or there is no shame in saying it, because it's very vast. It's very vast, right? Even if I keep on reading it, I keep on learning it, and then I find something new. Okay. No, we don't use Bootstrap or Tailwind. We don't use that. We have our own in-house like library that is known as Fluent UI, that is open source. So you can see it. So it's known as Fluent UI that you can see. So that is far better than this Bootstrap or Tailwind that is there to building sites. And Fluent UI is like a constant thing that you'll see across all Microsoft products. Similar to Fluent UI, Google also has their own one that I guess they have a name as well. I forgot the name. I guess so which Fluent CSS or something, something like that can name it. Okay. They also don't use Bootstrap. They also have their in-house built library. Okay. So most of these companies you would see in a large scale company, they create their own libraries. Okay. Material UI is there. Material UI is something for devices, Android or iOS. There is one web version also of it. They have, I can't recall the name, but I guess Fluent CSS or something as a kuch hi naam uska. Then get selected from DSA, will they get option to work on front? Yes. So if you get selected as DSA, so you can work on basically front end, back end. So any projects you can pick on, right? So that's not an issue. Okay, so complete all the assignments, everyone. Try to solve all the problems on the assignments. So I try to solve more gym questions. Try to solve all the assignments that I gave you in the notes. Also, if you all are connected in WhatsApp groups, I'm pasting the link here again. Share this link in the WhatsApp group. Please save it now. Otherwise, once the class ends, so this link would get, you won't be able to access the chat. So save this thing. Okay, and start creating your LinkedIn profiles. Be active there. Try to just go through the feed. Okay, if you're not posting, that's fine. Create your profile. Just go through the feed. Go through other people's things. The companies that you're interested in. You can follow people from there. You can connect with recruiters. Create your some presence over LinkedIn. That is definitely going to help. Trust me. Right. I also did not used to believe that, but LinkedIn is very resourceful. You can get your job directly from LinkedIn, right? And that's like way powerful than any other place that you can spend time with. Okay, so try to do that. That's way better. Okay. Hello. Thank you, everyone. See you all tomorrow. Bye. Good night. Take care. Practice a lot. Solve all the assignments. Okay. See you all tomorrow. Good night. Bye.